welcome to the year in review for 2022 for Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam, and with me today
I'm Peter.
is
I'm
yes.
back.
Josie couldn't be with us today. She is, and if she says to cut that, I will cut that because I asked her yesterday and she's not texting me back yet. But yeah, so we have quite a few year-end picks here. I actually print out the papers that way I don't have to rely on jumping back and forth with the computer, which is a bit of an issue. We did have one slight seating issue. So our top 10 is really a top 11, and we'll get to it when we get to the movies. We'll explain what happened there. But it was an interesting conundrum. It took 15 votes in the House to figure out what to do with it. But we have a number one pick now. It has been solved. So why don't we start with we'll do Game of the Year, Book of the Year, then honorable mentions, then top 10. So you do want to go first
All
for
right.
Game of the Year?
Yeah. So my game of the year. This is really the only new game I played this year. It was Elden Ring.
That was it was a it, I played a little bit of Elden Ring, not enough to make it worth $50 I paid for it, or $60 I paid for it. But I have a problem with these Souls-like games. I can't play them for too long because I start to get mad because I don't have
Yes, I think that's
yes.
a part of it. Is
That it's definitely design. It's
extreme
by design.
frustration and
It's by
rage.
design. Yeah. I guess if
But
I'm gonna play a
it's
video
hilarious
game,
that
go ahead.
there was so much controversy um, with people being angry that it's too hard, and it's like this is like mean to people that want to play the game, and it's like, hey, like some games are hard.
And I think
There's enough other games.
the thing is too, the game works well enough if you're doing it just regular. Like it's not like there are accessibility options in the game. I did see that. Whereas like if
Mhm.
you want to play the game, there are ways to get around some of the difficulty. And all of the difficulty is not like color blindness or like physical disability won't inhibit you from playing the game because they have ways of getting around that. And that was really one of the things I really enjoyed seeing this year. Was like even like God of War Ragnarok had a lot of options in the game to keep it from locking people out of things like that, where it's like if you
Yeah,
can't do that or if you can't get the frame perfect timing, they're not going to sit here and be like, well, you can't complete the game then. There are ways that like they have an option around that, which I do appreciate a lot. For me, when I play video games, I don't play video games to get frustrated. So I played a very little bit of Elden Ring. I mean, it's beautiful. I can't like, there's nothing about the game that makes me like, besides the fact that I don't like jive with the genre is really the only reason I didn't like it. And there's really nothing the game could have done to fix that. But everything around the game worked beautifully. It's just the gameplay doesn't, gel
yeah.
with me.
And like all the Dark Souls games, the story is lacking. They're pretty much or almost non-existent.
Right, you're there to
It's
fight
more
things and
like
move on.
moving from boss fight to boss fight.
Like what was that? Like I guess we could say technically then it can we say that Shadow of the Colossus is kind of the proto
Mm-hmm.
like Souls like. Because really all it is you're fighting a series of bosses in that game until it, you get to the end. So yeah, Elden Ring is one. What was the other one you had down? Witch Hunter?
Oh yeah. So the other one I had, this is not a new game. It's a few years old, but new to me.
Hmm.
But it's one of the most fun horror games I've ever played. It's called Witch Hunter. It's by this guy Andre. I forgot his last name. He's Russian, and it's a true indie game. It's basically him making it, and then he has
Hmm.
some other people help him with stuff. But the credits are like 30 seconds long because it's so few people. And the game it's a first person shooter, and it's just it takes place in like the 1800s, and you're just in this random village, and the village is being plagued by a witch and like demons and stuff, and you
Hmm.
have to go out into the woods and then like hunt them basically, and it's very scary because all you have is a musket. So if you fire once, it takes like 30 seconds to reload
Oh, so it's like
your gun.
realistic time to get it back together to
Yes,
that sounds
yeah, and the
horrifying.
gun can like misfire, and yeah, things are hunting you like there's dogs and like other zombies and all this crazy stuff.
Exactly. Was it on Steam or is it you have to go elsewhere to get that?
No, it's on Steam,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's like $5, very cheap.
Oh, okay. That's
And
not bad.
he has a few games that are all. I just Witch Hunter is the one I just finished, so I wanted to promote it. But he has another one called Skinwalker Hunter, where it's similar,
Hmm.
where you're hunting a skinwalker, and then he has another one called Shadows Pass, I think. And that one's the most fun, I think, story wise. That's the craziest plot, and it's much more survival where you don't have any weapons and you have to like fight ghosts and well, you have to run away from ghosts and demons. But they're all really scary. Like one of those games, it was the most scared I've ever gotten at a video game. It scared me so bad.
Yeah, I don't really do horror games to begin with. Like I went to see Megan yesterday, M3gan. And let me ask you something because this is completely unrelated, but I've been saving this for the show. Um, when you go to a movie theater and you buy a box of Skittles, what's an acceptable number of Skittles
Yes.
to lose in the process of eating the box? Like you're eating the box of Skittles.
Maybe a couple. I don't know.
Like is it enough where consistently throughout the entire movie, this motherfucker next to me is just dropping Skittles on the floor, and you just hear because it's like a dead silent theater, and you just hear like
You just see them clicking.
one or two at a time, just click, 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 click. And I'm just like, how many fucking Skittles can you drop during one screening where it's like, why is that? Why is this okay?
Were they trying to throw it into their mouth?
I don't think so. I think he was just trying to eat it, and it was like he'd miss his mouth somehow, and then he gets rolled down onto the ground. And I'm like, really? Like, it was either Skittles or Mike and Ice. All I know is a theater box and making a lot of clicking sounds, so I'm figuring
Oh,
Skittles.
like the shaking. Yeah.
Yeah, like just I don't understand it. Yeah, I didn't play many horror games this year because I don't really do horror to begin with. I did play Cult of the Lamb though.
Oh
And
yeah, I've heard about that one. I didn't
Cult of
play
the
it though.
Lamb is a little bit city simulator, but the denizens of your city are all slaves and a little bit roguelike, but it looks a lot like Paper Mario. Um, and it is just batshit insane, this game.
Mhm.
And it's just like for me this year, a lot of the games that I played were kind of reinventing what we had already what we've done a lot of in the past. And really trying to bring things forward and trying to iterate on what we already had. Like I think if Pokemon Scarlet and Violet had better quality, it would have hands down been it, but I couldn't give it to it because it's so janky that I couldn't give it the prize. And at the same time, like Sonic Frontiers was trying to bring Sonic into open world, like Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga was again trying to take the existing formula and do it for the new era and what new consoles can do. Um, this felt like it's kind of like the roguelike genre has kind of fallen off a little bit in the same with city simulators where we had tons of those in the mid 2010s. Like and that was kind of like what the indie darlings were all doing. They were all doing these kind of games before they moved more artsy and now it's farming simulators because of Stardew Valley. But this felt like going back to that and really doing something new and unique and merging these two genres in a way that's totally different with a great art style. It makes it really fun. So yeah, Cult of the Lamb was my pick. And I didn't have something old that I played because the only old game that I played was Stardew Valley. And I'm not gonna talk about Stardew Valley again. I've done that ad nauseum. So our next thing is Book of the Year.
Mhm.
I have never heard of yours.
Oh yeah, so this mine is called "If You Tell" by Greg Olson.
Hmm.
So I guess I'll say Greg Olson. It's basically a true crime book. Greg Olson's I think my favorite, I guess, new true crime author. He's been around for a bit, but he basically only writes true crime stories or books about things that take place in Washington State, because that's where he's from.
Okay.
There's all these interesting and really weird crime stuff. My favorite, so if you tell, it's about this family where the mother is extremely abusive, and it's very interesting where she's definitely like extremely mentally ill, and making them do like extremely like mean and embarrassing things, like making them tie her children together naked and making them slide down ice naked so till
Ooh,
they're leaving blood tracks in the snow. But she was
that's
smart enough
horrifying.
where she would buy medical textbooks and like train herself in like simple medicine so her children wouldn't have to go to the doctor. So she never got found out about the abuse. And she
That's
would
really fucked
normal
up.
yeah, and she would normalize it so much where the children didn't even know they were being abused. because she would make them do it to each other too.
Mhm.
So it would like give them this weird power dynamic between the siblings where they would like take advantage of each other and like play against each other. And it wasn't until they were all 18 or older and they could leave as adults that they figured out how fucked up their life was.
Yeah, then they talk to someone else like,
Um,
you used to slide down the slide tied to your siblings naked, right? And like, no.
that basically they would go to their friends' houses and be like, "Oh, your mom doesn't like tie you up," and they also had slaves. So their mom would find like lonely or like depressed people, and then
Mhm.
befriend them and then invite them to live with them, and then she would slowly start drugging them and then basically ruin them and then like abuse them until they died. And she did that with 2 or 3 people. So
Wow.
they grew up having slaves basically, and it's just this was like it's like pretty close, like within an hour of Seattle, like not super remote.
I seem to recall hearing somewhere that the Pacific Northwest has the highest like per capita rate of serial killers of anywhere in the country.
Well, we had Ted Bundy, the Green River Killer, the Happy Face Killer. But all the Midwest has a lot too, like
That's
where
true.
Dahmer is from.
That's true too. Yeah, because it's yeah, that's
But maybe I think for the amount of people that are here, I think we have a very high rate because it's
that's
not
true.
very because like Seattle, the city of Seattle is under 1 million people. It's not really a big city.
Hmm. Now, has Greg Olson ever been adapted by Hulu before or something like that? Basically, the question I'm trying to get to is this going to
Huh.
end up as a Hulu original series that we're going to watch in 3 years?
I don't know. I don't recall. So I read a bunch of his books, and I don't think any of them have been adapted. They should though. Like my favorite book by him is called Starvation Heights, and it's
Hmm.
actually it's a historical book. It's from the story takes place in the 1900s, and it's about this woman that was a doctor and started her own asylum where she believed fasting could cure all diseases. So she
Hmm.
would bring people in and just starve them, and then before they would die, she would make them sign over power of attorney to her, so then she would collect all their money, and then she did this for like a super long time. And there's so many primary documents about it that he was able to write this like really detailed book about everything that was going on. And
I would
then it
watch
just
any
really,
number of
yeah.
these. I don't have the attention span or the because I do a lot of my reading at work.
Mhm.
So like a lot of my reading is kind of flowery stuff or like Star Wars related, something like that, where it's like, you know, it's not something that's going to like be weird if someone were to be like, hey, what are you listening to? Um, I mean, I guess, being almost 30 and listening to Star Wars at work is not the best look, but it's definitely like, oh, and here's a story about someone murder, like about a murder from the Pacific Northwest. I feel like so like a lot of these I end up watching when they go to Netflix or something. I watched A Friend of the Family on Peacock. That's a
Mhm.
fucked up story.
Which one
Um,
is which one's that?
that's the one with the guy who kidnapped the girl and brought her to Mexico to marry
Oh
her.
yeah, that was
And
also a Netflix one.
yes, the Netflix
It's
one's a
funny.
documentary.
Oh, this one's like a show.
Yeah, this is a show. The guy who played Plop in season 9 of The Office is
Oh,
the creepy pedophile. He is so good in
that's
that
funny.
show.
They chose like yeah. I think it's weird. I don't know. I think now people like documentaries more than dramatization,
Yeah,
dramatization.
because it's like I would rather watch a documentary, but like that Andrew Garfield drama one they did on Hulu was not very good. I only got like 2 episodes into it and I dropped it. The Under the Banner of Heaven.
Oh yeah, because
Um,
I'd rather just know what actually happened.
right, then
Because they
watch someone
definitely
play
there's
it out.
no none of these dramatizations ever are 100% accurate.
Right, because they got to take liberties for the sake of the narrative of the story.
Yeah, yeah, to
Um,
make it into yeah.
yeah, to make it
But yeah,
interesting.
the that story is crazy where he kidnaps her and then he has a voice modulator and tricked her into thinking there's aliens and that she's
Yeah,
been abducted by
and then
aliens.
and then he gets caught and they bring her back and then he kidnaps her a second time.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
it
it's a
really
fucked up
the
story.
parents really are who I think
Somewhat
just
to
as
blame.
guilty as he is. Yeah,
Um,
because he also told them he was a pedophile, and
yeah.
that part of his therapy for not being a pedophile is he had to sleep with children. So he asked them to
Hmm.
sleep with their daughter in the
And they're
same
like, well,
bed, and
that
they're like, oh
sounds
yeah.
legit.
They're like, I guess that's what psychology says, man.
Uh,
And then the mom wrote a book about it, and then now is that's like the mom made a bunch of money and stuff off of it.
yeah. She's in the other documentary they
That's
have
what
on
it,
Peacock about. They did a documentary for Peacock too about it.
oh my god. And then
Um,
Peacock also made a documentary about like how Casey Anthony is innocent.
well, I don't know anything about the Casey Anthony story. I'm willing to give her a little bit of the benefit of the doubt.
No, well, I listened to the last podcast on the left for that like a
Okay.
while ago,
I also
and
haven't done
I
any
trust
research
their
since it happened.
I trust the biggest thing for me is that when they searched her computer, they
Mhm.
searched when they looked at her search history, they looked at the wrong browser. They looked at like Internet Explorer or something, and she was using Google Chrome.
Like a normal person.
And then yeah, and then when they looked at Google Chrome, her search history was like how to OD a child on Zoloft or
Ah, well, that'll
stuff
do it.
like that.
That'll do it.
And she used to what she used to do with her daughter is when she would want to go out, she would drug her daughter with like Zoloft or like Percocets to basically put her into like a
I
mini
heard
coma.
Xanax.
Xanax, that's it. I forgot what drug it was. And then she would leave for like 8 hours, and then she would joke and say that that was her babysitter
Yeah,
was like
nanny zanny.
Xanax. Yeah. And then so that's like basically what ended up killing her. I do believe maybe her parents were involved where she panicked and called her dad and her dad
And then
helped.
they disposed of the body that way.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of
And
like the John Benet Ramsey case where it's like
yes. Oh,
definitely
be
the brother
careful.
did it.
The parents still sue. The parents of John Benet Ramsey will sue or send cease and
Okay.
desist to anyone that says that they were involved.
Okay, well, allegedly. Anyway, moving on.
I can 100% with confidence say that no child was ever found chained up in my parents' basement by accident.
Um, mine is in a similar vein. Mine is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy, and not because of the information that everyone was looking for in this, because when she announced this book, I think there were a lot of people, myself included, who were like, "This is going to tell a lot about what happened during her time at Nickelodeon." Um, but what
Dan, the
struck
pivotal
me
candle.
about, well, that wasn't even that wasn't even the
That's what
biggest
I wanted
reveals.
to know.
The bigger reveals, like she doesn't paint him well, and she doesn't really touch on what he was doing or anything like that. Um, the only person from Nickelodeon era that really comes out looking really shitty is Ariana Grande.
I'm fine with
Um,
that. I've always hated Ariana Grande.
because it's like she talks about how she signed on to do the second season of Sam and Cat because she was going to get to direct, and that's kind of like what happens as these shows go on. They let the stars direct episodes so that way they can get that experience behind the camera. But Ariana Grande said she would leave the show if Jeanette was allowed to direct an episode. And then
That's I didn't hear that. That's really fucked up.
yeah, and at several points in production, she left to go on tour, and they would just write around it. Like they did an episode where Kat is stuck in a like a suitcase or like a dresser for an entire episode because she wasn't there for production because she was on tour or on the Today Show or doing any number of things. Meanwhile, when iCarly was on, she would want to leave to go and do a feature, and they said no, no working around it. You have to be on for every episode. So like, but that wasn't even the thing that really got me. What really got me, have you ever read the book Tweak by any chance?
It's not. Is it a fiction?
No, it's nonfiction. It's like a memoir. It got made into a movie with Timothy Chalamet, Beautiful Boy, on Amazon.
Okay,
Uh,
that's probably where I know it from.
yeah, that book is such a great account of drug addiction.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is that book, but for eating disorders,
Mm.
where it's such an
That is it.
honest and open account of like dealing with anorexia and bulimia and body image issues that's what really affected me about this book.
Did her mom basically give her eating disorders? Is that why it's
Yes.
called that?
And then it's like when they
Mm.
went to like basically what happened was she was concerned because her mom wanted to be an actress and she was
Uh,
concerned that as she was growing and like hitting puberty and stuff, like, oh, I won't be able to play these roles that I was always getting, where because she looked younger, she was able to get these roles. So her mom was helping her control her diet to not develop her
mm.
body properly.
Yeah, because you can really if you're not getting proper nutrients and stuff, you can fuck
Yeah,
yourself
so
up.
it was like that, and then they would go to doctors, and the doctor would be like, "Do you know what anorexia is? Because your daughter's like the textbook case." And the mom's like, "Oh, okay, we'll deal with it," and then wouldn't do anything about it. And then like it does paint Nickelodeon poorly in that light because doctors at Nickelodeon were also saying she definitely has body issues, like she's
Yeah.
got something going on there, and they refuse to do anything about it. But
Mm.
it's all that kind of like it's such a great thing about like her talking about going through it and then trying to form like normal adult relationships later in life and having to explain that she was bulimic and it's like well and how that affected her It's a really great book though. But I think a lot of people were really hoping for the big spicy details about Dan Snyder.
Be
Um,
included.
yeah, well,
But
that's a
they might
disappointment.
have all these weird non NDAs and stuff. I don't know.
She says in the book she was asked to sign an NDA, and they offered to pay her $300,000 to sign an NDA to not talk about anything that happened while at Nickelodeon, and she opted
Mhm.
not to take the money.
Oh, okay, that's good.
So that's why the book exists, is because Nickelodeon tried to pay her off. She said no, and then they
Mhm.
released the book after. Um,
Yeah, good for her because it's definitely better, I think, for her to be able to say whatever she wants to say.
right, because it's not like she has an acting career really at this point anyway. So I think this is better for
Mhm.
her mental health even. And she does take a little
Yeah.
swipe at the iCarly reboot too at the end, where they asked, like, apparently, like, that's the epilogue, is like Miranda keeps asking, do you want to come back for the reboot? We really want you to come back for the reboot. And her thing is, I'm afraid I wouldn't want to go back to the reboot, because if I ever wanted to go back into acting, you end up in the situation where your only other credit is reprising the character that you played, and you only ever were associated with that character.
Yeah.
And it's like that also applies to Miranda Cosgrove.
Oh yeah, I saw a horror movie with Miranda Cosgrove. I forget what it was called. She was so bad in it. It
Yeah,
was insane.
she did 6 episodes of a TV show on ABC, I think, that got canceled. And she's the voice of one of the girls in Despicable Me, but Despicable Me no longer does the Despicable Me aspect of it.
Yeah, now it's all the
It's all the
minions.
minions. So, and I
That's
mean,
way,
Gru's there, but
assuming
it's
that's
just
way
Steve
cheaper.
Carell. Yeah. So yeah, those were the books of the year. Now for honorable mentions, you have one, I have two, only because when I did my top 10 list, I didn't include series. I just did one series of the year.
Mhm.
So I'll do series of the year and the honorable mentions, and then you want to do your honorable mention first before we get into the top 11?
Yeah, that's sorry, that's for the movie.
Yes.
My honorable mention.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yours is
Oh
a
wait,
movie, yeah.
one quick one thing. The movie I was talking about is called The Intruders,
Okay.
and it's insane how bad it is.
Well, the thing is too, I think didn't she go away to college for like psychiatry or something? Like the only acting she does now is the iCarly reboot, but like beyond that, she doesn't really do anything. Like
Yeah,
she's got like
she
a
just wants to do
degree
a
in an
separate
actual
career.
field.
Well, that's also what what's her name? Uh from The Big Bang Theory that pretends to be a neuroscientist.
Oh, Mayim Bialik.
Yes, that's what she pretended to do, but she's not a very smart person.
Her new show is awful. Oh my, I can't. It's unwatchable, and it's on its
Yeah.
third season somehow.
I just remember she was anti-vax a while ago, and
Yeah,
everyone seems to forget that. And that she like sleeps with her children like past the age of 10. She makes them sleep in the same bed as her.
yeah, exactly.
So she's fucked up.
Yeah, it's
And
a
she
weird
sucks at
situation.
hosting. She ruins Jeopardy too.
Yeah, I like Ken Jennings better. He should have been the host in the beginning. I
Ken
don't know why she
Jennings
was the
is,
host.
do you know that Alec Trebek actually said who he wanted to host
And it was
after
Ken
he died?
Jennings.
No. It was this news anchor from like CNN or something. It was just this
All right.
woman, and they just completely ignored him. They're like,
Well,
"Thanks for the feedback."
well, to an extent, I understand that, because it's like at the same time, it's like, look, I understand that you have your thing, but it's kind of like when what's his name died, who played Dumbledore, and he's like, I want the role to die with me, and Warner Bros. Was
That's
like,
hilarious.
yeah, we can't do that because
Yeah.
obvious
After the
reasons. We
second
have a
movie.
franchise, so no. But thanks for the offer. Um,
Yeah, and I bet he didn't even read Harry Potter.
Probably not.
Yeah.
And that's why Ian McKellen isn't Dumbledore. He was the first choice for Warner Brothers, but because he was friends with Michael, I forgot what his last name was. Um, but
Gambon?
because he was friends with him, he was like, I can't do that to him, because he was very specific about how he didn't want me to do that.
Yeah. He was better
So
as Gandalf anyway.
yeah. Um, but yeah, honorable mention for movie of the year for you.
Okay. So that mine is Men, the horror movie that came
Mhm.
out last year. Where there it was like, I don't know. Parts of it I liked a lot, but parts of it I think it was just trying to be weird for the sake of being weird. And it just pushed it too far where
Mhm.
there's too many things were going on. It was also, I guess, this isn't the movie's fault, but it was a horrible theater experience for me.
I don't think that's
Where
the
it was
movie's
like
fault itself.
people shrieking. Uh, it was, yeah. I don't know. I guess I think post COVID, people are horrible at the movies now.
I think it just people have to relearn that social contract, so to
Yeah,
say.
well, what
Where
it is, I think it's people that want attention. It's like they they like want other people to notice them. So
yeah,
they're just like, let me scream. So look, I'm like a part of the movie now because
like
I'm
I'm also here.
screaming.
You're
Yeah, and
welcome.
there's like for some things I know it's a losing battle, and I
Right.
understand that. And so I just don't do
It's like I've
like
gotten
when
to the
it
point where it doesn't bother me anymore when people start clapping during a movie. It doesn't bother
yeah
me anymore. It used to a lot
yeah
more. Um, I would say Endgame beat it out of me.
yes.
Um,
So like
but
I don't really like the movie to begin with, but if I wanted to go see that, I would just know I'm not going to go to the opening night because
right, exactly.
that's it's what George Lucas. They're like George Lucas is 100% correct. That's every Star Wars movie used to come out on like Wednesday night or something,
Mhm.
and because George Lucas said so all the freaks can go and see it, and then normal people can see it on the weekends, and you don't
Yeah,
so they don't have to they don't have to interact with all the freaks.
like that was the thing where it's like I saw this is now 2 years ago at this point, but No Way Home opening night was the loudest theater I've been in, I would say ever. Because I think
Yeah,
it was the first real event movie back from the pandemic where a lot of people were packed into the theater. And then on top of it, you got Tobey Maguire coming back, you got Andrew Garfield coming back, you got like Charlie Cox was in it, and it was less like everyone got these giant ovations, and I was like, I like
yeah.
this used to annoy me, but it kind of doesn't anymore. Like I think the thing that really was the turning point was that Creed screening we went to.
That one I
Um,
liked. That one was like exciting.
that was I think the only one. That was the point where I was like, all right, I can deal. Like I think from then on, I was kind of like, all right. No, that was before the Force Awakens though, because the Force Awakens, I wanted to punch the guy
That
next to
was
me.
insane. Yeah,
Yeah. Um,
my head felt like I was gonna explode.
so get ready for that in 2025 when the new Star Wars movie comes. Um,
Mm.
my series of the year is Andor. That was I had no expectations for Andor going into it. I think I told you that several times when they started debuting trailers and stuff. I was like, I don't care about this guy who's like a side character at best in Rogue One and how he
Yeah.
joined the rebellion. Like I have no interest in that character. And like I don't care about what the show is trying to do. But it is Tony Gilroy made a show that feels like Michael Clayton or like Bourne, but set in Star Wars, and every plot of it works so well. Everything about the show just was so great, and there's like every little character doing their own little nonsense thing works. There's like space like Ben Shapiro kind of character who's kind of just like, and he's I only call him Space Ben Shapiro because he looks vaguely like Ben Shapiro, not because of how he acts. But like he's an imperial, like he's like security on Andor's home planet, and he sees what Andor is doing, and no one will listen to him. So then he goes and works for ISB for a little bit, and it's just this whole thing. Like Deidre is a great villain. The show manages to make TIE fighters scary again for the first time, and stormtroopers scary for the first time, because you see them so infrequently that when they're brought in, you're like, oh shit, they're actually doing something big now, and they need this. Um, and there's a dramatic monologue at least once, sometimes multiple times in each episode. And not a single one of them ever fails, which is an achievement in and of itself, because that can get very annoying very quickly if that many characters are giving these dramatic monologues about freedom and tyranny, but every single one of them works within the
Mhm.
show. Um, and I think that like if there's one episode that's like the single best hour of TV, it's the episode before the prison break when they're in the prison and Andor is trying to convince Kino Loy, who is Andy Serkis, to give him information so they can break out of the prison. And he's like, "No, we're just gonna serve out our sentence and then we're gonna go." And then he slowly learns through the episode that like the Empire is never gonna let you leave. You're just gonna get out, get immediately picked back up, and brought back into the prison to be put somewhere else to do the exact same thing as slave labor. and they watch someone die in there, and it's like we can't do anything. And it's such a great episode because you see him slowly start to break down. And all the Mon Mothma stuff's great too. That whole show is just so well done the entire way through. Um, it beat out Sandman for me, which was I think was gonna be a tall order, but the fact that like Sandman didn't win this is a testament to how good this show is.
Mhm. Yeah, I've only heard good things about it. I definitely have it added to my list. I think because I haven't watched the Book of Boba Fett or
You don't need
Kenobi,
to.
and I might just skip those and just watch Andor.
I think for Kenobi, just watch the finale
I
because that's
watched
really all you want to see.
the fight. Yeah, I watched the fight between him and Darth Vader.
Yeah, that's the only thing worth watching in the show is that fight. But like and Book of Boba Fett doesn't have anything worth watching in it, except for maybe the Mandalorian episode, which is like that was the only point where the show got good. Is it's like episode 5, like the Return of the Mandalorian, and it's just an episode of the Mandalorian with no Boba Fett. And I'm like, this is great, and there's no Boba Fett in the entire episode.
Yes.
Like, which is a problem for your show if your show is called Boba Fett.
I also don't get why is it called the Book of Boba Fett?
Because it's like all of the show, like the Mandalorian, everything is a chapter. Like,
Oh,
so it's the Book of Boba Fett because it's the
so
small
they call
little
the episodes chapters.
yeah, because they're all called chapters. So it's called the Book of Boba Fett. Yeah.
That's so stupid.
Yeah. And it's
I
just
thought
a
it
little
was like
side adventure.
equally stupid. I thought it was like because he writes the rules. It's like his rule book.
No, it's great. He's a crime lord, but he doesn't deal drugs. He doesn't,
But
pay
he's a
people pay
good crime
production.
lord.
Yeah, he's a benevolent crime lord. It's fine. Don't think about it. Um,
He
and,
does
and
good crime.
yeah, and my movie honorable mention, I feel like you're gonna roll your eyes at, Clerks 3.
I still haven't seen Clerks 3 actually.
I saw it in theaters, and then
I
I
need
was
to
like,
watch it.
I walked out of it. I'm like, is this like one of the best movies this year so far? And then I watched it again. I'm like, maybe it was just seeing it in the theater, and that's another one where the theater experience definitely added to it. Where because it's a Fathom event, it's just a bunch of other people who are also fans of
Mhm.
it. Um, but it's just like for me, it wasn't the cameos. And again, there is this glaring issue where anytime Rosario Dawson shares screen time with Dante, there's just
How
this
ugly Dante
massive,
is.
well, that too, but also this massive discrepancy in ability to act,
Yeah.
where it's like, Rosario Dawson has an Oscar, Brian O'Halloran does not, and probably won't. But it's just do you want me to spoil it for you, or do you want me to not tell you what happens at the end? Because the end is what really made it sealed it for me.
No, don't. Sorry for the listeners, but don't
Okay,
spoil it. I'll
all
probably
right.
watch it soon.
Yeah, I'll keep the end, but like the end is really what sold it. And it kind of I'm not even gonna say what it ends like because that'll also spoil it because that's
Mhm.
also on my list. But um, it is the first like 20 to 30 minutes of it are a little annoying if you've heard any number of podcasts where he tells the story of the heart attack.
Yes.
Because
I have no. I've.
you're lit like that was the thing where I'm like, can we just get through this, please? Because I like I know the story already, and it's like all the story beats are all the exact same story beats that you've
Was
heard on.
he smoking weed, and then the weed? Did they say like
No,
the
the
weed
weed was
saved him
omitted.
from the heart attack?
No, the weed was
I'm
omitted.
surprised about that because now he
Um,
talks about how weed is responsible for his entire career and like
yeah,
his
that
life.
part's omitted. But the like, and I think that just about there are a few jokes in the movie that go a step too far, which I think is just where it kind of, why it falls off the list out of the top 10. Is that a few of the jokes just go like a step too far, where it's like this could have ended like a half step earlier. We don't need to go all the way to this ending point where like at one point Elias is in the hospital with Dante after Randall has the heart attack, and he's like he feels responsible right before he has the heart attack. He's like, if you keep committing blasphemy like that, you're gonna get struck down by Jesus, and then he has the heart attack. So Elias feels responsible. So he's like, if anyone saves him, I will
Mhm.
do it. And then it's like, and then he's like, Satan, if you save him, I will give myself to you. And then the nurse comes in and is like, he's saved. So he pulls down his pants and he's like, Satan, take me. And I'm like, this goes like a step too far where it goes beyond funny. It's just weird. And
Yeah,
also
I think
Block
a funnier
Change is
thing
just an
with that
add-on.
is he would like then the rest of the movie become like goth and like a Satan worshiper.
Oh, he
Then for
does.
the rest of oh okay, that's funny.
Yeah,
But
that
yeah,
is
I
in
don't
the
think he
movie,
needed
but like
to
that
pull
bit
down
you
his
don't
pants.
need. And the same goes
No.
for like the cameos. The cameos are all funny, but I think that like Ben Affleck goes on like a little too long. Um, yeah,
Yeah, it's almost like he's showing off he has friends.
yeah. Well, like the Ben Affleck one goes on too long because like the other people are. It's like the Impractical Jokers, which is like all right, and then it's like I'm not gonna say some of the bigger one. There are a few bigger names in there, but like his mom, the Impractical Jokers, like Ben Affleck, and then like Scott Mosier, and then like what the fuck, the guy who played Randy on My Name is Earl, who was also in Mallrats, he's in it, but then there are a few other people there too, and it's just like the
Oh, that's
one.
like he's like the Jack now.
Yeah, he lost a lot of weight, and then it's like the Ben Affleck one though. It just goes on way too long, and it's he's playing an entirely different character, and it's like, okay, but if he was playing Ben Affleck, that would be funny, and if he was playing any of his other characters, that would also be funny. But it's this third
It makes
thing
sense,
that
yeah.
no one knows or cares about, and he's just doing this very thick Boston accent for a good like 2, 3 minutes. So I don't think
That's
that was
fun.
really needed, but that's why it got bumped out
Is
of the
he
top 10.
can he not use characters from like other properties? Like because Mallrats like
Oh
owned
no, he
by
did like
something else.
the guy who played Randy on the guy who was in Mallrats. He is playing the same character as he was in Mallrats. Scott's playing the same character he
Oh,
was
okay.
playing in Clerks. That guy who was like zonked out entirely. Like he's playing that same
Yeah.
character. Walt
Yeah, because
Flanagan plays
Mallrats takes
the
place like 2 or 3 days before Clerks, I think.
yeah.
Or maybe a
Walt
week.
Flanagan plays the guidance counselor with the eggs again.
Yeah.
Um, in a very long scene that's actually kind of funny because it goes on way longer than any of the other cameos, but it's pretty funny. Um, yeah, and I think his daughter um plays the milkmaid instead of his mom, probably because
Hmm.
his mom's like 80 and getting down on her knees for that bit would be cumbersome to get back up. I could say with two 80-year-old grandparents. So okay, so the top 10, this is where we ran into a little bit of an issue. So if you listened to me and Josie do our ranking of the Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we divided the system with points, where what we did was we ranked it top to bottom, and then the number one thing got however many things there were, that many points. I think there were like 17, so it got 17 points, and then down to the last thing got 1 point. So we did the same thing here because when we did the mid-year top five, we ran into an issue where we both had things um at different ranks. So we would sit there and talk about it for 10 minutes, and then a few places later, we have to talk about it again. So in an effort to fix that, we did the system we did for that as the top 10. The problem is we overlapped on two things. There were two things that we both picked. And by miracle, they both ended up with 16 points at number
Ah.
one. So I was like, how do we break the tie? Because I want to have a definitive number one. That was the issue. I wanted a definitive number one. So what I went with was whichever one had the higher seating from either one of us,
Mhm.
that was the number one, and the other one was the number
Okay.
two.
I think that makes sense.
Because there were a few other things. Like I asked other people, like, have you seen both of these movies? And then can you weigh in? Like, but no one had seen both movies to be able to weigh in. But there are a bunch of other ties. Those are okay. Just one and two, I didn't want ties. So number 10, we have a tie between Turning Red and Fall. Do you want to go first for Fall?
Yeah, so Fall is a I guess suspense thriller movie.
Hmm.
And it's not great, but for me it worked. I kind of have a fear of heights. And this whole movie is basically two women trapped at the top of a giant TV tower, like
Hmm.
2,000 feet up in the air.
That was the
And then
entire
when
reason I didn't watch it is because of the fear of heights. I was like, I'm not
yeah,
gonna
and
go and watch it in
it's
the theater.
definitely a movie, yeah, that's good for theaters because you get like the giant view and it
Yeah,
makes it feel you feel how high up they are and it looks pretty good. It's kind of like parts of it are dumb. I don't think people that rock climb only rock climb to go high up. So I don't really know how many rock climbers would just want to climb up a ladder for 2,000 feet and then be like,
Yeah.
I'm a master climber because I climbed up a ladder. Because there's really no skill in that. It's literally
Oh, they
that's what
don't.
they
It's
do.
not like that the scale the outside of it to get to the
No, no,
top.
no.
It's
There's a ladder that goes all
oh,
the way to the
then
top
what's the point of going to the top then? It's just
because
like
it's high.
at that point, all you're doing is committing a felony for trespassing on
Yes,
government property. Like you're not doing
that's part
anything
of it too. It's
special.
like we can't tell anyone we're going here because it's trespassing.
Oh, okay. Well,
And then when they're so high up, they have no cell phone service.
yeah, because I didn't see this movie because of the fear of heights thing. I have a very bad fear of heights. So that was why I didn't see this movie. I did hear about it though because it was this year's R rating controversy, which happens at least once a year. You get a movie that has multiple cursing, multiple fucks in it, and then it ends up being rated R. And it's like, well, why is it rated R? They're like, well, because I say fuck twice, and it's like, well, it feels like a little extreme. This could have been a PG-13. Um,
Yeah, this one should. I think it stayed PG-13. I think, right?
no, it was R.
I thought I looked it up and it said PG-13.
Or maybe it did get maybe it was the first one to get that. 'Cause I remember there was the issue with like this is at this point 10 years ago, but Catching Fire
Yeah,
has fuck
IMDb
twice.
says PG-13.
PG-13. Okay, well I think it
Yeah,
might be the first then
yeah.
to say fuck more than it's like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is rated R because of
Due to
that
one
one
scene.
scene where he's going off on the person at the counter. But yeah, that's all I knew about it going into it, and I knew that the girl in it, one of the two girls in it, was in Shazam. That's all I can add to the conversation, though.
Also, Jeffrey Dean Morgan is in it for 5 seconds.
Really?
Yes, he played like her dad or something. I forget.
Huh.
He's just like he's just in it randomly. He's just like, you gotta climb. That's like also the part of the movie is that like this woman, like her husband dies in a climbing accident,
Mhm.
and then obviously she's grieving, and then everyone around her's like, you gotta climb again. You gotta do it. And
But
it's like
like,
most people can live out their life and be successful and normal without having to scale a sheer face mountain.
also too, if you're trying to climb something, then like, why is a ladder the first choice? If that's the thing that she needs to overcome is being able to climb a ladder, couldn't she do that in her garage and get a similar effect if that was the issue? Because like, again, why was she not climbing the outside of this? Because I saw a picture of what the tower looked like, and it's got those things where like you could climb the outside of it, and it would be a little bit more difficult than climbing a ladder. I'm not saying it would
Okay,
be
so there is a thing for that. So they go to the very top is like a platform, and it's
okay.
just like metal that goes down to
Oh, okay.
that like
All
the
right.
lattice work.
That's okay
So
then.
that's like a part of it is they have to make their way down to
I thought
that.
that they just climbed a ladder all the way up to the top, and it's like great, and then the ladder breaks. And I'm like, fuck, now we're stuck.
Yes,
Okay.
that is what happened.
Okay. Um. Now this movie was
But
under
it
two
was
hours,
I
I
don't
think,
know.
right?
It was yes, it was an hour and 45 hour 45 minutes.
I'm just
It's
imagining
by
like it's like 3 hours, like fucking Avatar.
it's from the same people that made 47 meters down, which is about two women that get stuck in a shark cage at the bottom of the ocean. So it's similar. And that was one of the best shark attack movies I've seen in like decades. 47 meters down. It was a lot of fun.
So where do they go next? Do they do like someone getting stuck in a very, very tight space? Is their
I don't
next
know,
thing?
yeah.
Because they did really high and they did underwater,
Really
maybe in
low,
a
yeah.
cave
Cave would be fun.
in space on a space station.
I guess that would just be gravity.
Yeah, that's true. All right. I revoke that idea.
But yeah, it was just a fun. I like it because I feel like there's not a lot of thriller movies anymore. It's a lot of
No, there
just
aren't.
straight horror. And then
Mhm.
this was like a suspense thriller movie. There's no jump scares. It's like exciting. Like what's
Well, I
going
would
on.
say like arguably like Megan was closer to science fiction than it was horror.
Yeah.
And they should have gotten like a lot of these movies that are horror and are billed as horror would be better if they got rid of the horror element and then went straight with whatever the thing is in that genre.
Mhm.
Um, Gone Girl, I think, was probably the last big thriller I could think of.
Yeah. And even that I think was more like a mystery drama.
Yeah. What was that before or after Prisoners?
Hmm. I
It was
don't
the
know
same year.
actually.
I think they were both
Yeah.
2013.
Prisoners, I think, is more of a thriller.
Of a thriller,
That's one of I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I have a feeling Denis Villeneuve will come up in the draft.
Maybe.
I have a feeling. I didn't come on my list. I'm like, he's definitely on your list, so I would let you have
Yeah.
that one.
I'll rage quit.
I was like, I guess know that number one going to be Doom Part 2, so let me just move on from there. My number 10 was Turning Red, which was the Pixar movie that came out this year that wasn't Lightyear. It was the kind of thing where it, like, when you hear the idea, it's about this girl who is starting to become a teenager and then spontaneously develops the ability to, whenever she shows emotion, turn into a giant red panda. It sounds like it's going to be a puberty allegory, but it's not.
It was actually a child prostitution allegory.
No, it's about like kind of like breaking the cycle of abuse, kind of. And like, because like the mom's like, you can't show the panda because he will not like you or accept you as the panda. And the girl's like, well, I have evidence to the contrary on that. So she has to learn to control the panda and live with it, and then break out of this thing where it's like generationally they keep trying to seal the panda away because it's kind of like a curse. But she's like, well, it's not really a curse because the panda doesn't do anything evil. It's just me, but in a giant panda
As a
body.
panda, yeah.
Like
It's not like
there's
a
nothing
werewolf.
wrong with it. So it's more about that, and there's so many homages to like anime, and it's just they nail the early 2000s feel, like with boy bands and just the technology of the era and the aesthetic all feels very very right. I really enjoyed that movie, more than thought I was going to, and substantially more than Lightyear. Because Lightyear was
Oh
just
yeah, I think that's most people I think agree.
yeah, Lightyear was not very good. Did you know they changed Zurg so Zurg was Buzz from the future in an alternate timeline?
That's so stupid.
Yeah.
Not everything this is not just for Pixar or Disney movies, but almost with a lot of movies. Not everything has to be connected to each other.
Well,
Like
I mean,
things can exist by itself.
like, and the thing is, too, just saying Zurgus's father would have worked just as well. Like, and that's the established canon. And like, I don't want to be that person who's gonna sit here like, well, in the canon of Toy Story, like, but like at the same time, it's like the movie opens with, this is the movie like in 1993, Andy saw a movie and became obsessed with Buzz Lightyear. This is that movie, and I'm watching it, and not even like the racial demographics of the cast or anything like that. But I'm like, this is not a movie that would have been made in 1993.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
like this type of time travel in the plot would not have popped up in a movie in 1993. This is a very modern interpretation of string theory behind this time travel, like that was not around in the early 90s.
Yeah. And especially since there was a whole TV show that was
And the
Buzz
TV show
Lightyear.
was so much better.
Yeah. Even
Like,
that little intro in Toy Story 2 was
yeah,
so much better.
the movie that they did for the show, which is just a Star Wars ripoff. Let's not, pretend it's
Yes.
anything but that.
That's the
But
joke.
yeah, but like that's what this should have been. It's like this in this universe, Star Wars is Buzz Lightyear, and that's why he's this toy that everyone fucking loves. And the other thing is too, if that movie came out, the toy that Andy would have wanted wasn't Buzz Lightyear, it would have been the fucking cat, because the cat's the best part of the movie. So number 9, we're tied with Barbarians and Glass Onion.
Mm.
Do you want to go first with Barbarian? I did not see Barbarians either, but I know what it is.
Yeah, so spoiler alert, most of my list is horror or thriller movies. So Barbarians is a horror movie. I think even though I saw it on my top 10 list, I think it's overrated. Because people were acting like this is the like future of horror movies, and I went in with extremely high expectations, and it was really good, and it was like kind of interesting, but there was like some things in it that I thought were annoying, like the plot was over explained. There's a flashback part where they like that's really good, and they like show you things without like directly telling you what's going on. Like it's just certain things they show you in the background. It was like really cool, and it's obvious too. It's not like that subtle. But then at the end, they introduce a character. There's like this homeless man that comes, and his entire purpose is to explain the movie to you, where he literally sits the two main characters down and just tells them the plot of the movie, and then
Hmm.
dies.
That's helpful. That's how you know you've
It's
done a good job narratively. You need to have a character come in and
yeah,
explain what happened.
but it was good. There's a lot of gross stuff. Justin Long is funny in it.
Mhm.
He's the exact same character as Tusk.
He's also in Clerks 3, doing a very fucking weird accent for no reason.
Yeah, he's there's this weird thing I noticed too, I think in modern from this movie I like picked it up. So like in the 80s and like the early slasher movies through probably 2000, and this isn't a new observation, but characters used to have use this is actually it's the biggest issue I have with horror movies is justifying killing characters where
Mhm.
you can easily figure out in the horror movies who's gonna die because the movie makes
Yes,
you not like the movie
yes.
sets them up to die. And
That
they're
was my
like, oh,
problem with
this
Megan is that I know everyone who's gonna die in this movie within the first 20 minutes because they've told you who sucks and who doesn't.
Yeah, and it used to be when the Christian conservatives had more power. Like that's the whole thing with Scream, where it's like if you fuck or do drugs, then
Right,
that's bad, so then you die.
right.
Now, because like we've evolved as a society, that's not as explicit anymore. But I've noticed now it's like if characters are anti-woke, then they die. That's who's gonna get killed
Hmm.
off. And that's that
I didn't
just
notice that.
that's Justin Long's whole character
Oh,
is that
okay.
he me too'd someone. That's like his whole. He's like an actor, and he gets accused of me tooing someone, and he says, I
Or
forget
he
what.
was Me Too'd.
No. Oh yeah, I guess he was. He did do it. It's that's like a whole separate thing.
Right.
Um.
He's
Uh.
like Chris D'Elia or
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's Chris D'Elia.
okay,
Um.
that's how you pronounce it.
And it's like, oh, he like was bad that way. He said fag in the movie, so it's like,
Uh
oh, he's
that now he's gonna
evil.
die.
Yeah. And so it's like all the he's a landlord. He like owns rental properties.
Well, that I can live with.
And so that's like all that little I was like it kind of rolled my eye. It just felt so forced, like
Hmm.
because they have like a main character that's like she's I don't know. It's like her plot is like interesting because she like ends up trusting the wrong people and like puts her trust in different like she like fucks up trusting the wrong man basically.
Hmm.
But I think it'd be more interesting if that turn comes out of nowhere instead of spending half the movie setting up that this is a bad guy.
Right.
But there's
Yeah.
cool. There's like gross stuff. Like Justin Long is forced to breastfeed from a giant like evil monster woman.
Hmm.
That
This
part's
is
funny.
on HBO Max, right?
I
I
think so.
may
Yeah.
have to check this out.
Uh,
I have
so,
not watched this movie yet.
so it is cool. There's like I have a fear of people living in my house at the same time as me, and that's like a chunk of the plot.
Hmm.
But then there's other stuff that they don't explain. There's like weird stuff where it seems like people have mystical powers, and then that's never brushed on again.
Oh, so like Malignant,
Yes, yeah, but
where he can control electricity for no reason.
I don't think it goes far enough in that. Like Malignant was so wild, where it was
Yeah.
like fun. This it doesn't go. It's like doesn't go to that extent where I think it should have.
Hmm.
But I
Yeah.
still liked it a lot. It was like kind of original. It didn't rely on jump scares. It was like creepy. It was there was parts of it that were genuinely funny, like stupid shit that Justin Long's character did were actually funny.
Hmm.
Like there's a scene where he wants to measure like a tunnel that he finds in his house, so he could say he can list it as extra square feet when he sells the house, and it's
Hmm.
like this evil dungeon, and he puts a tape measure like at the top of the stairs and just like walks like 30 feet, drag like extending out a tape measure. It just looks funny.
Um, yeah, I did mean to watch that, but I had this issue with my movie theater this year that is thankfully mostly resolved.
That's a
But
movie I think I would have had to walk out of. It felt like there's a lot of scenes in it that it felt like it was setting it up for people to scream for
oh, okay.
during the movie.
Yeah, that was one that I didn't see because my theater was down to 6 screens for most of the summer. Up until Avatar 2 came out, it was down to 6 screens.
Thank God.
Yeah, then we got the IMAX, and then Avatar took up all the rest of the screen, so it was back to 6 screens. Um, yeah, I did not see that. And I think I misspoke. This is number 10. This is split for number 10. And then Glass Onion was my pick. Did you see Glass Onion?
I have it added to my list. I haven't watched it yet though.
Okay, so
I want to see it.
I'm not gonna say who the murderer is or anything like that.
Thank you.
But like in the first Glass Onion and the first Knives Out, there's the reason why this is on this list is there's that kind of great political undercurrent in the first one about
Mhm.
how everyone is like on different ends of the political spectrum. You have the little whiny kid who's very conservative. You have the people who are very far to the left, and as soon as and they're all very nice to Marta, who's the maid that Armis plays, and they're all very nice to her and all of that. And then they think that she gets the money after when they read the will, she gets all the money. All of them put all of their everything aside and all of their misgivings about each other aside, and all turn on her immediately because they think the money belongs to her, to them, not to her.
Mhm.
And it's that kind of great moment. This has a very similar moment, but a lot better, and it means a lot more in the world we are now. I'm not gonna say what happened, so I'm not gonna spoil it for you or for anyone because the movie just came out on Netflix like 2 weeks ago. There's a very similar moment where you have like the cast is like Dave Bautista plays totally not Andrew Tate. Um, like Ed Norton is totally not Elon Musk.
Mhm.
Kate Hudson is just generic annoying female influencer like Kim Kardashian, but like really dumb. And then Jessica Henwick's her assistant. Um, and Catherine Hahn is the what's it called? Like the governor of Connecticut. And all these people have wildly different political views and all of that. And you get the class solidarity aspect of it that works very well until something happens that the public perception of is so damning that they can't, and all of them just slowly start. It is such a great moment at the end of the movie, but I'm not going to say what it is or what happens. But it's definitely really well done.
My biggest issue with the Knives Out was that I didn't think the mystery component was very good at all.
I'll say the same thing applies that here. Um, it's the mystery isn't exactly what I'm watching it for though. I'm watching it more for the character moments between all of these very different characters, who are all being played, very well and very uniquely. That's what I'm there more for than I am the mystery. Like if like the best mystery of the movie of the year was See How They Run, um, which came out over the summer. Like that had the best mystery in it, not Knives Out. Um, but it is very well done. Just the mystery could have done. There's a reveal. There's something happens, and then immediately after they do a reveal. But like I'm gonna say it very ambiguously. If they waited in the main timeline in the movie to do this flashback, um, about 10 minutes, and you're gonna see the exact moment I'm talking about when you see it, the movie would have been better served, I think. But it's a small
Mhm.
editing thing that you can probably see both ways. Number nine, we have a tie. Hellraiser and 3,000 Years of Longing.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that movie.
So
Yes.
you had Hellraiser. I did not see Hellraiser.
Yeah, so this is the new, it's like it's a reboot of Hellraiser.
Yeah.
That was on Hulu, I think. Yeah, it was
They
a
had
Hulu
two really
movie.
good reboots this year, though. They had that and they had Prey.
Oh yeah, actually, I thought Prey was okay. Um,
I like Prey.
it, yeah, I guess it was. I don't know. I think I don't really like Predator, so that I thought I liked the first one okay, but
I
I'm
think
never really a big
inherently there's a
fan.
problem where it's like we have this thing that's a killing machine, unless it comes in contact with a certain human who can fuck it up.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like this is the ultimate killing machine unless it meets a human.
Yeah. Like,
Uh, like I like Alien better because Alien is just like an animal, so
mhm.
I think it's more interesting.
It's not a soldier that's designed to just, kill. It's there on a
Yeah,
biological imperative more than anything
and
else.
yeah, I definitely thought Prey was better than almost every other Predator movie except for the first one.
Mm.
Like the one with Olivia Munn where it's like the giant predator,
You didn't
and
like that
then
movie?
no, and then the
I
future, I
unironically,
liked it because it was like funny that
unironically, I
the
enjoy that movie.
the
If it's on
the
FX, I'll put it on.
the future of human evolution is autism.
Yeah, like unironically, that movie has a lot of really great comedic beats.
Oh yeah,
Like,
Thomas Jane being having Tourette's or something.
yeah, like when they get on the bus, someone says something about something being retarded, and then he's like, "Hey," and Boyd Holbert's like, "Hey, show a little respect." And then you get to hear Keegan Michael Key in the back, and he's like, "Yeah, show a little respect. His kid's retarded." like that. There are so many great comedic beats in that movie. Anyway,
Yeah, because that's
Hellraiser.
Shane Black wrote it, I think. Yeah, so
You
he
did,
is
yeah.
funny. Yeah, yeah. So Hellraiser, yeah, it's good. The really when you're watching a Hellraiser movie, there's one thing you're looking for is gore. That's
Yeah,
the
that's
number
what
one
you're there
thing is
for.
fun gore, and this movie got it.
All
Um,
right.
that and it was yeah, it was just like it's the most of the Hellraiser movies are absolute shit after the second one.
Hmm.
There's literally in the third or fourth one of the Xenobites or whatever is a CD monster that shoots CDs and
Yes.
kills people with CDs. So they went back to basics. You got your Pinhead and Shatterer and all this. The biggest issue with the Hellraiser, like the villains, that they're not really villains. They're just like these beings that really they only take people that are bad, so they're almost like good guys.
Hmm.
So it's hard to create a horror series off of that where they're not really actively hunting people.
Hmm.
But this one they really fuck with the main character. And it's kind of cool getting a different sort of Pinhead that's more androgynous. Because in the book that it's based off of, that's the Pinhead is more like it's unsure, like not really clearly man or woman.
Right. Well,
And that's
it's a
what this one
demonic
kind of
entity.
yeah, that's what this one kind of nailed down a little bit better. A lot of people are like, "Oh, it's a girl Pinhead," and it wasn't really. It was like it was an actress that played Pinhead, but I don't think it was
I don't think
directly
it's
like,
meant as a
"Oh, this."
girl as much as it's just
It was
she
yeah,
looks
it
feminine.
wasn't like yeah, it wasn't like marketed as like it's girl Hellraiser now. It was
Yeah.
just this. It was more dumb. Yeah, I think they did a better job of making it this weird just entity.
Would it
And
surprise
yeah,
you to know my only touchstone for Hellraiser is the Rick and Morty episode with Jerry being cringe?
that's funny.
Yeah.
They're kind of I guess that's close, but yeah, I do recommend the original two. They're
Mhm.
so good. The most famous thing, Jesus wept, and then someone's face gets ripped open.
Nice. Yeah,
So there's a lot of like
there. I'm
God
gonna
stuff.
eventually watch them, but it's just there's just so much stuff that happened before I was born that I'm trying to catch up
Hmm.
on. That it's just like there's just and stuff that happened like in the early 2000s that or like this week I'm doing Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I've never seen that movie before.
That's a good movie. That's
Like
fun.
I'm gonna check that out this week. And it's like that's my big one for this week. But it's like I'm just trying like that's on the list of stuff to catch up on. But I've caught up on Halloween and I've caught up on Nightmare on Elm Street. So I'm slowly working my way through the horror classics.
Yeah,
Except for
I
the
think
Friday the
Nightmare on Elm
13th.
Street because Freddy Krueger is kind of even in the later ones that are kind of shitty. Freddy Krueger is still kind of funny,
Yeah.
so he makes it worth watching. But the later Halloween movies get so bad and
Yeah,
just
I
look
would say
so
there are
cheap.
like three good Halloween movies. Did you know
Yeah,
Paul Rudd shot Halloween 6 before he shot Clueless? But Clueless came out first. So that's his first movie.
I think I did know that, but just because I watched a thing about Halloween 6,
Hmm.
it's about how
It's
horrible it
and the
is.
movie is titled so weird too. Like,
Like
shouldn't
the
five be
subtitles.
well, shouldn't five be the curse of Michael Myers? Because isn't that the one where the girl's like kind of half
Possessed.
possessed,
Yeah.
like after she watched him die? So like that's a better title for that. Um, but yeah, that was I am gonna check out Hellraiser eventually. But it is somewhat down on the list. For me, I had 3,000 Years of Longing, and it almost certainly has something to do with the fact that this movie came out shortly after Sandman, and it has that very similar vibe, like
Hmm.
where it's like how they have all those issues of Sandman, where it's like they go back to like Shakespeare times, and they go back to ancient Egypt and or ancient Greece and all these places. It had that same vibe, this kind of not globe trotting but era trotting story, that's just so engaging the entire way through. As you see the story of this guy continually gets stuck back in the lamp every time he tries to get out. Um,
Okay, I was confused about what the movie was actually
yeah,
about when I
it's
was still in the
yeah.
trailer.
All
I
it
thought
is
Tilda Swinton was like time traveling.
no. Tilda Swinton goes to a convention in Middle East. I forgot what country. But she goes to a store and buys a lamp. She tries to clean it. There's a genie in it. And the genie's like, I will grant you whatever your heart desires. And the problem is Tilda Swinton has no desires. Like,
Okay.
because she's content in her life. She doesn't have a deep desire that she doesn't have. So the genie just tells her his story about like, look, you need to come up with something because once you come up with something, I can get out of this fucking lamp. So just come up with something. So he's telling the story of all the shit that's gone wrong in his life, that led to her having the lamp now. It's a really great movie. I don't think it's gonna get
Okay,
a
I should
ton of
watch that.
love. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Um, and all the production design is so great, and the costume designs are also great. Um, Tied at number 8, we have The Batman, which is my pick, and Cabinet of Curiosities. I don't think we need to explain that because Cabinet of Curiosities is horror. I
Oh,
did see,
I just realized I did not put the Batman on my top 10 list that I
yes,
should have.
The Batman was the one. It's like there were two movies that I was like, The Batman and The Northman are the two that we need to do the system for, so we don't have to talk about them twice because we're both gonna have them on the list. But yeah, The Batman made my list.
You know what? I would like to switch out my. It would fuck up the rating system if I switched out my the Cabinet of Curiosities with the Batman.
Um, I don't have it open right now, but we can just say we can keep that tied at number 7. Well, 7 there's a lot of math. Just well, it's fine. We can talk about both at this point. We already have it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, it's
um,
fine.
yeah. Do you want to do Cabinet of Curiosities first? I only got like 2 or 3 episodes into it.
Yeah, so I did. I watched all of them. I think the some of them aren't good. I'll say that there are a couple that are like this is just bad.
The
Like
one
the
with the
one with
rats is where I stopped watching.
I like that one a lot.
That
The
that
one
one,
with
it's like if I see a giant ass rat and I have a gun with one bullet in it, that gun is going to my forehead, not towards the rat, because that thing's gonna fucking kill me if I don't
yeah,
kill it with that one bullet.
yeah. The that I like that one. The one with F. Murray Abraham is really good.
The
It's
first one
like
was
this.
cool. I like the first one.
What was the first one?
The first one was the one with the guy who just got cast in Dune yesterday, who plays the leader in Incredible Hulk. The fuck's his name?
Hmm.
Tim Blake Nelson.
Oh, that was with the storage lockers.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a good one. I like how all of them like they don't over explain anything. It's like these little vignettes, and you kind of have to
Yeah.
you're figuring it out at the same time as the characters are. I think my biggest complaint is many of them they don't even though there's different directors and writers, they don't really feel that much different between each episode.
Well, it's Guillermo del Toro's
Um,
Cabinet of Curiosities.
that's true, yeah. You also in his opening like monologues, you have to turn the subtitles on. It's very hard
Yeah.
to understand
Yeah.
anything he's saying.
And look,
But
I understand. I guess I had to get the subtitles on, or I just winged it
well,
for the
because
second one. I was
he
like,
is
fuck it.
I know like with Spanish accents they have the lisp, but
Yeah.
his is so strong. It's like it's so hard to understand what he's saying.
Yeah, for the first one I put the subtitles on, and the second one started, I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna wing it and hope for the best. I don't think I actually need the explanation.
Yeah, and like with the guy that directed Mandy did one of them.
Oh,
There's like
okay.
there's a lot of cool people in it. The one with Rupert Grint is the worst one by far.
Which is probably
Uh,
gonna be true for the new M. Night Shyamalan movie.
yeah. Oh yeah, he's in two new M. Night Shyamalan things.
Is he?
Yeah, he's in that Knock at the Cabin. It looks
Yes, that's the one I've
absolutely
seen the
awful.
trailer for like 30
It
times
looks
at this point.
awful.
Yeah.
And then he's in M. Night Shyamalan has a new show that he's in.
Oh, okay. Oh, on Apple TV. Servant.
Yeah, yeah. That's also M. Night Shyamalan.
Um, yeah. Have you seen the back of Dave Bautista's head in that fucking trailer?
Yes, I was like, is that makeup or did someone like
No,
drag
that's
a
just his
rake
head.
across his head?
Like
Why
it
does it
looked like
look
he's
like
missing
that?
his skull and his head is just flushed to his brain. I'm like, what the fuck is
Yeah,
wrong with him?
he looks more fucked up in like real life than he does in Dune. Like I think they smooth his head over in Dune.
Yeah, they
I don't
that
know
was
what the
where a good
fuck
amount of the
is
effects
wrong
budget
with it.
went. Yeah,
Yeah,
I just
the one with Rupert Grint and the Cabinet of Curiosity. It's what the shitty thing is it's based off of H.P. Lovecraft, like in one of his more famous stories,
okay.
and they completely butcher it.
Huh.
And Rupert Grint tries to do a really strong New England accent, and it sounds
Oh,
insane.
I don't think that would work. I don't think he can pull off a British accent. That's just his voice.
Yeah, it's crazy. And there's like, yeah, that one was a bad one. The rest are all good. There's actually another H.P. Lovecraft one. And it's really good. There's like That one's it's Pickman's Models. I think it's about like art and like paintings and like demonic shit.
Hmm.
And yeah, that was good. But yeah, it was just entertaining. Like each one is a little bit different.
I'm eventually gonna
And
go back and finish that, but
they're not the one with Kate Micucci. That one was really good.
oh, the girl from Garfunkel and Oates.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she's in this one and she gets obsessed with like lotion. And
Hmm.
it starts she starts having a like allergic reaction and like her skin starts peeling off and like it's really fucked up.
Hmm. I'm gonna have to go back and finish watching this at some point
Yeah,
because I
it
did
was good.
start it. I just never finished it. But yeah, for my pick, I had the Batman, which was how the year started on a strong note.
Yeah, I
Um,
fucked up by not putting that one on my list.
yeah,
I don't know how I
I saw
forgot.
your list. I was like, wow, he really did not like. I guess that these are really better than the Batman. All right. Because I was like, because when I saw your list, I was like, I didn't see Fall. Was Fall that good?
The Batman is better than Fall.
Um, yeah, the
Yeah,
Batman was a very like I think it's I will stand by this. I said this when it first came out. I think this is the most rewatchable, and I would say I prefer this one to The Dark Knight.
yeah.
Which is a bold statement, I realize, and I've gotten a lot of shit for that at work. But this is my favorite Batman movie. I love Robert Pattinson in this movie. He does such a great job playing that early Batman, and it's about him trying to find his place in Gotham. And I really like that the evolution of him just being the symbol to be feared into more of a symbol of hope. I could do
Hmm.
without the last half hour of the movie.
Yes.
Um,
That was the thing where it's not just a Batman, there's like a bunch of movies now. I think
yes,
where you're like, wait, the villain's right.
yes. Like it wasn't even that for me. It was the destruction of Gotham Harbor because semantics aside about how they built this fucking city 6 feet underwater,
Yeah.
like that aside, my issue was and it was actually the similar issue is why Top Gun Maverick didn't make the list. But like we don't need that for this movie. Like we don't need any of that for this movie. Like he captures the Riddler, movie's over. All right, move on. We don't need the destruction. Like we don't need one more giant action set piece.
Yeah. It would
And
be
that
I think it'd be more interesting to have like but it's more nuanced to have the bad guy. It's like, well, it goes against Batman because Batman doesn't kill, but he's like killing people that kind of deserve to be killed.
right.
And
Like
it's like then the city ends up being like better for it. So
yeah,
it's
he
all
he
this
did
like
more for the
weird.
city than Batman did, arguably.
Yeah. But then when they're like, actually he's a Fortran troll and there's gonna be a mass shooting.
Exactly. Like and he's got that many. He got a ton of. He got like 300 followers on
I mean, that was
Twitch.
the hilarious part where they're like, he has 300 followers.
And it's like, all right,
It's
cool,
like,
I
is that a
guess. How
lot?
many of those are actually in Gotham? Like,
Yeah.
but like
And apparently 10 of them are, I guess.
yeah, and that was why in and all of those guys can fight as good as Batman. Like, come the fuck on. Like these, if you guys are watching this guy on Twitch, you are not a fighter. Like,
Yeah,
uh,
exactly. Yeah.
and
It
and,
would be
and
they would all basically be the Riddler, this like weird little like
yeah, with
creep
no
guy.
chin, like that was
Yeah, that has to like sneak up and like beat people. I was really surprised how violent it was,
yeah.
in a good way.
And I think the thing that solidified the movie was like halfway through when they do the big reveal about the Waynes, and then when they name drop Tommy Elliott, and it just says "hush" on the screen, like there was a second I was like, I was fucking right because I
Oh
said
yeah.
last year I was like, this is not gonna be the Riddler. This is gonna be Elliot. This is gonna be Hush, and they're lying to us this whole time. And then they weren't. And I was like, why the fuck did you not do that?
It
Because
was
like,
basically the plot of Hush though, right?
yeah, it is.
Because
And I also really liked
I watched the movie or the animated movie after
right.
and I was like, wait, this is literally Hush.
And it's like I saw the what's it called? The what was the other one that like the tie together of the Waynes and the family, the Arkhams. That's not from a comic, but I really like that they made that decision to have Martha come from the family that built Arkham Asylum
Mhm.
because like the Waynes are kind of like this symbol of like hope and prosperity for it, while Arkham Asylum is the polar opposite. And to tie them both together and have both sides of that reflected in Bruce is a great decision too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that again, that third act really drags the movie down. Not as much as it did Top Gun Maverick, because Maverick should have died at the end of that movie. Um,
But Tom Cruise will let himself die.
yeah, that was like, did you see Top Gun Maverick?
I did. I liked it, but I actually so I never I think I was maybe both of us a little bit too young for Top Gun when it first came out.
Well, we weren't
So I
born
never
yet
really
for another
had
five
this like
years because Top Gun was like
yeah, exactly.
'86.
So I
Um,
watched Top Gun when I was like in middle school. I was like, yeah, this is cool, but I wasn't like, this is like the greatest like thing ever.
I think
And then
Top
so
Gun
I
was to
didn't
that
really have
generation what we had 300.
yeah, I actually didn't really like 300. Maybe it was for me it was like Jurassic Park.
Well, no, I mean like it's
Uh
that same thing where it's this hyper masculine military
oh
warship kind of
yes.
thing,
Yes. Yeah,
like
I agree
bordering
then.
on very gay, like
Hmm.
like that's kind of the same thing. And I was like, I watched it the night before I went to see Top Gun Maverick, and I was like, this is the movie that everyone acts like is the greatest cinematic achievement ever. Like,
Yeah.
because there are a lot of people who, and look, what they did to film the fight scenes is really cool, and a lot of that really holds
Hmm.
up, but the fucking movie around it is a train wreck.
Yeah. It's not there's not a lot of substance behind it.
Yeah. But yeah, when he gets shot down, that should have been the end of the movie. Because there's obviously a guy who doesn't want to grow up, and he doesn't want to take like he needs to die in action, and that's how he needs to go out. That should have been where the movie ended, but unfortunately it went on for another half hour where him and Miles Teller are wandering around this camp and steal a plane. Um
Yeah. And it's funny they have to justify why they use because there's no way the military would give them new jets.
yeah,
So they have to justify where they're using old jets.
yeah. Um yeah, so the Batman is at number 8. Number 7, we have a tie between the Bob's Burgers movie and After Sun.
Yeah,
So,
so Bob's Burger movie, I love the TV show.
mhm.
Um and usually I had very low expectations because usually these types of movies are always suck.
Yeah, because they go
Uh
too big.
yeah, they go too big and then they you can never it's like how do you ever come back
Mhm.
from
The
what these
events that happen
events
there.
and the Bob Bergen movie was perfect where it kind of felt like just a very long episode of the TV
Yeah,
show.
that's what I really liked about it was that it is just like the title is the Bob's Burgers movie, and it is a Bob's Burgers movie. That's all like the Simpsons movie. You can't really like you said, like how do you come back from them destroying, almost destroying Springfield? Like you
Yeah.
can't.
And then
Like
never talking about it again.
exactly. Like this was great in that regard, and then also the you can tell they had a bigger budget and they used it really well.
Hmm.
And the animation looks so good, and they really mixed in like a great mix of 3D into it, and
Yeah, where not in the distracting way
right.
either.
And I think that they
And
did that
the
very well
amount
too.
of do you watch the TV show?
I haven't watched it in a few years.
Okay. So it was crazy to me how many references to the TV show there was. It was almost
Hmm.
constant. Whereas like every part of the movie was a reference to the show in some way.
Huh. I do want to go back and finish watching it. Like I just haven't.
Yeah, it's fun as a TV show how many holiday episodes they have. Like
Mhm.
they always have a Halloween episode, a Thanksgiving episode, Christmas episodes, like all that kind of stuff.
What was the season where Bob has the multiple turkey mishaps? That was the last time I watched it.
I think that's almost every season.
Where he has to keep going back to get the what's it called? He has to keep going back to get the
Oh,
turkey,
to get new turkey.
and the
I
and
forget because
the
every
butcher thinks he's
season
coming
they
on to him.
have a Thanksgiving episode, so I don't know actually.
Yeah, that was the last time that was the last one I remember where it's like he's like, no, I'm straight, I'm mostly straight. It's okay. Like that was the last one I remember. But yeah, that I actually did really enjoy the movie. Um, I went to a theater and saw it. I didn't know it was gonna be a musical. That was an
Yeah, they
experience.
do because in the show that's
They
kind
do
of
sing a lot.
moved up is how much singing there is. Um, they kind of maybe did a couple times. It's like, all right, we don't even know their song here, but
Mhm.
it was fine.
Yeah, there were a few times where I was like, I could have done with that, and I think that was kind of like
Yeah,
what maybe not want to watch it again is like I don't. The musical numbers aren't great.
yeah.
Um, So
Well,
like that
H.
was the
John
one thing.
Benjamin, he has a lot of like funny albums and stuff. Like he has
Hmm.
a jazz album. And it's called like I Should Have or something, and it's an asterisk. And then the
Hmm.
asterisk at the bottom of the album says learn how to play the piano. And he hired a bunch of professional jazz musicians to play with him. And so they're playing, and then he's just trying to play jazz on the piano, but he doesn't know how to play the piano. And it's
Um,
one of the funniest albums ever. It's like real
yeah,
jazz, and they just hear like banging in the background.
yeah. The movie was great.
And
I
the
did,
villain was good. Like the villain is
yes,
a new character, but it made sense within the universe of the show.
yeah.
And then they can easily write off that person now and still keep everything how it was.
Who voiced him? It was someone famous who voiced him.
It was the guy from Silicon Valley that
That
goes
was
to
it.
sex dungeon parties.
That was it. Okay. Yes.
Something with a T. Thomas, maybe I forget.
The not Thomas Middleditch. He's the
I know, yeah, I thought it was Middleditch.
when you said that, I thought you were thinking about the guy who was also in Freaks and Geeks, who was in Spider-Man.
Yeah, I think it was Thomas Middleditch, and
It
he
might have been him. That sounds right, actually. Now that you're saying that, was saying, yeah. But when you said that,
because
that description, I was like, I was fairly sure that the guy on Silicon Valley who went to the dungeons was the guy who was also in Spider-Man and was in Freaks and Geeks, whose name I'm forgetting. Martin Starr.
no, Martin Starr I think is normal. I don't think he's gotten in trouble for anything.
Oh, you mean in real life?
Oh yeah, yeah, in real life,
Oh, I thought you meant
Thomas
on the
Middleditch.
show. I was like, Thomas Middleditch was
No, no, no,
not let
no,
down on the show.
no. In real life, he's a freak,
Oh, okay. Yes, I did hear that. Okay.
and he,
Okay,
and yeah,
that clears that up.
That's why I thought it was like surprising because he that like came out like right after he got in trouble for doing all that stuff. Actually,
Well,
and the guy that voices Jimmy Pesto
he got.
was at the January 6th
I
riots.
heard about that. Yeah.
And Aziz Ansari is on the show too.
I think Aziz Ansari has kind of like done
Oh,
his
never mind.
time.
I'm wrong. Uh it was David Wayne, I think, is the
Oh, okay.
I don't think Thomas Middleditch was in the middle.
What was it?
David Wayne did not go to dungeon sex parties.
I think Aziz Ansari has kind of like done his time and moved on. I think
Well,
he's
I think for him it was just bad timing.
yeah. Because he was directing a movie until Bill Murray raped someone on set or sexually assaulted someone on set,
It was
which is
probably
just
because
if I'm him,
under
I'm
the
like, God
influence of
fucking damn it!
it
Like,
was because he was under the influence of Aziz Ansari, so he couldn't
like
control himself.
I'm just like this. It's like a Parks and Rec moment where it's like the guy who's the sex fiend town councilman. It's like he on the way to and from the apologies for hooking up with a for fucking a hooker. He had sex with a hooker on the way to and from the apology.
Yeah, well, I also I think with Aziz Ansari, he had all that stuff about like how to date in the modern world and like
Right.
respecting women and that
That was
stuff.
it. That was I think what was more.
And
It
so
was
it just came off as so hypocritical.
and his
Where
thing wasn't like
his
illegal.
thing was the claw.
It was just kind of like
It was
bad.
really cringy because
Yeah,
he would do this thing called the claw, where he would like go like this and then put his hand over like the woman's face,
that's
and
weird.
like put his fingers in her mouth.
I'm like, how often did that work? Where it's like, this is a good tactic to use. Um, yeah, mine at this number 7 was After Sun, um, which was a smaller independent release. I think A24 did the distribution for it. And the reason it makes a list is because I don't think I've ever seen a movie that managed to take the emotion of nostalgia and distill it
Mhm.
into a viewing experience. The way this movie does. Um, where the entire movie is about this woman looking back on a family vacation that her and her dad went on like 20 years prior. And it's kind of like in that movie Belfast that came out last year, where you get to see both sides of like, you're not really seeing both sides. You're seeing Buddy's perspective, and the camera kind of follows Buddy, and Buddy's like 6. So you have this conflict between the Protestants and the Catholics. in Ireland, but he doesn't understand because he's a kid, and we're only ever seeing it from his perspective. So we're missing key information, but it's okay because we're from the kid's perspective. Here, we're getting both the full picture of what's going on around her and this like 12-year-old girl who's coming into her own perspective, and it's just so well done.
Yeah.
It is one of the most interesting movies I've seen this year.
I don't,
Um,
I haven't, I just looked it up. I haven't heard of this. I honestly thought it was a science fiction movie about the sun exploding.
there was a movie about that a few years ago, The Wandering Earth, that was not terrible either. It was a Chinese movie. Yeah, it's a really interesting movie. Yeah, I almost saw it at the Hamptons Film Festival, but I saw She Said instead, and She Said did not make the list. Um, Number six, we have One Thing at number six. Crimes of the Future, which you picked.
Ah,
I
yes.
did not pick Crimes of the Future. And I think my methodology for this still stands from when we talked about it at the mid-year top five. Do you want to talk about Crimes of the
Oh
Future
yeah.
before I rip it apart?
Okay. So I love David Cronenberg.
Mhm.
And for me this movie worked. I just liked how weird and fucked up it was. And I think your complaints were like actually my friends that saw it too had the same complaint where they like set up things never like
No, nothing comes of them, and I'm like,
the
all right,
movie
whatever.
basically sets up a climax that never happens.
Yeah, and it's like,
So
and the
the
gore things are not that great either.
and there is a little bit of child pornography in the movie.
Well, I would say more than a little. I would say a third act is entirely contingent on it.
You don't
Um,
understand art.
I don't need to stare at a 9-year-old boy's dick for a good 10 minutes of the movie to see the end of it.
Is it
Um,
does it count though if he's dead and getting an
yes, it
autopsy?
is. Yes, 100%
And
it
you also
does.
don't that one actress, I forget what her name is,
Leia
that
Seydoux.
was in it. Yes, that only plays the same character in every movie.
She's got like the Terrence Howard cry face. Like
Yeah, she's
always looks like she's
literally
about to cry.
in a No Time to Die, the exact same
Yes.
person.
Um,
But I know I love Viggo Mortensen, and it's like this
he
weird.
was
I
cool.
liked where it's like humans of like the plot where it's like we have so much plastic that
Yeah.
humans have begun evolving to ingest plastic to like
The
where we're
underlying
cleaning it
science
up.
fiction of it is interesting, and they did a great job with that. It's just, I think that, like, when I go to see a movie by Cronenberg, I'm looking for the gore to be better.
Yeah, actually, I think it was Ridley Scott kind of shit on it. Because Ridley Scott is one of the best shit talkers ever, where
Yeah.
he
It's like him and
and
James
same with
Cameron.
and John Carpenter too.
Yes.
They shit talk like crazy. So I think it was really Scott or Carpenter where they someone asked him about this movie and they're like, well, Cronenberg doesn't see himself as a filmmaker anymore. He sees himself as an artist, and that was their complaint of the movie, where maybe it's trying too hard to be art instead of just being a movie or like entertaining.
I would say it doesn't do either of them.
But
Like,
I don't know.
congratulations, you failed on both counts.
Just maybe because I haven't seen a movie like this in a while. Just I liked how weird the pacing was. It was unclear kind of what was going on. Which who's like why characters are doing certain things.
Well, don't worry, the movie's not going to answer that question for you. So,
like
like,
the two women that worked for the or appeared to work for the company.
yeah, what the fuck was going on with them? Like,
So I think my interpretation of that was that they actually did work for the company, and this company only existed because people were getting these weird mutations where they couldn't eat food. But
mhm.
if people figured out that they could start eating plastic, that company would go bankrupt.
So she's
So
just trying,
that's
they're
why
trying
they
to
had this
cover it up.
that they were trying to cover up these like evolutions.
It's an interesting world, and a lot of the ideas are cool. And I think that for me, this movie would have been better if the gore was, if the surgery aspects of it were better.
Yeah,
And I would say 100% not less 9-year-old boy dick would have made the
that's
movie
true.
a lot better.
And
Um,
yeah, I love it was like in the future people can't get infections,
like
so
it's
everything
such a
looks
cool idea.
horrible. So everything is so shitty and dirty because people don't get infections anymore. Like
It's
that's cool.
it's such a cool idea, and like when they're showing some of the surgeries, I'm like that's not. And I think definitely part of it was too. The movie debuted at Cannes, and they're like people walked out because it was so gross, and I'm watching. I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about?
I don't believe that stuff anymore. I think it's all just like
PR.
annoying rich people that are like, "Oh my, this is
Yeah.
crazy." I've
Well, if you're
It's the
paying to go
same
see it
exact
at con,
people that I don't know how many Broadway stuff you've seen or like musicals.
I haven't been
Um
to Broadway since Memphis.
okay, so I see a lot of touring stuff here in Seattle, but I've been to a bunch of Broadway stuff too. And there's a really weird thing that happens when you go see Broadway shows where things that aren't that funny, people are like shrieking laughter and like scream laughing at
Because they're reacting
because
to the person on stage for their benefit.
yes, yes,
They think they are for their
and
benefit.
I think that's what's happening with cons, where it's like, this is insane, I'm leaving, and like walking
Yeah.
out. There are things that like the House of Jack Bill,
I did not
by
see that movie, but I've
Lars
heard
von
similar
Trier.
things about it.
That movie actually has a crazy gore and like some of the most violent stuff I've seen. Uh,
Terrifier 2, I heard that about too. I didn't see
that's
that
okay.
though.
I haven't seen that yet. Terrifier kind of annoys me. That's another one where it's kind of like Barbarians, where it's cool, there's not like idea and the character is cool, but the movie itself I don't think is that great. I
Mhm.
haven't seen Terrifier 2 yet. But yeah, Crimes of the Future, the ideas were cool enough where I could overlook the other stuff. Oh yeah, and then I guess the climax is the entire movie. They're setting up this illegal organ fashion show,
Yeah.
and the movie ends before the fashion show.
Yeah, that's what I was like. There are so many weird like plot threads that are all entwined until the end, and you have like this instead of it being like a clear thing, it's kind of like a bunch of like, well, what about this? What about this? And again, if the gore was better, and if the scare, and if the things that were meant to be like unsettling body horror were better, the movie would have been better for me.
Yeah, I
Um,
also liked what's that actress? Who's the actress in it? Not the
Kristen Stewart.
um. Yeah, I like Kristen Stewart in it a lot. I thought she was
I
weird.
think she like Robert Pattinson, both have great acting ability.
Hmm.
They just got fucked by having their first real big mainstream role being Twilight.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
yeah, because
so
she was really good in it. She like played like this weird autistic woman.
yeah. Well, she was really good in Spencer too, the Princess Diana movie last year.
Oh
I
yeah, I
thought she was
forgot
gonna get
about that.
nominated for best actress for that. She was really good in that. Um, number five, we have a tie between Tar and Mad God.
Hmm.
Now I haven't seen Mad God.
So
Um,
Mad God is one of the weirdest movies I've ever seen. And it's like all stop motion. There's almost zero dialogue the entire movie.
mhm.
It's all just these like really weird visceral claymation things, but then every once in a while it will integrate with live action with like humans too.
Hmm.
And there's like stuff where people's intestines are getting ripped out of their bodies, and like there's giant shit monsters. There's like this whole scene where he walks into a room and there's these giants hooked up to the electric chairs that are getting constantly electrocuted, and then
Mhm.
they're shitting, like diarrhea is pouring out of them. And then there's
This
another
sounds
monster,
uplifting.
and then there's another monster underneath that where all their shit is funneling into this guy's mouth and he's eating it. And then
And Kathleen
he's like,
Kennedy says this movie is the pinnacle of
oh, yeah,
humanity.
yeah. That's why I don't think she watched the movie.
Yeah, when I
Uh,
read the quote, I was like, if they asked her, oh, by the way, the guy who directed this died, can you give a statement for his obituary? And if they said, oh, by the way, he put a new movie out that's stop motion, can you give a statement? Like, you would have gotten the same statement out of her. And either way, if you asked her
yeah,
now, did you see this movie? She's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
yeah, and then that shit eating monster is also like mechanical, and then he creates little beings and little slaves that are like a workforce.
It sounds fucked up.
Um, yeah, well, basically the guy made it like for 30 years, and
Hmm.
he said it's basically I watched this behind the scenes thing about it, where every time he was depressed, he would like manifest his depression into this movie, which
Hmm.
it's very obvious. So it's almost a bunch of really fucked up scenes like strung together. But it's like
Interesting.
extremely well detailed. Um, the story is kind of unclear about what's going on, so that's kind of confusing.
Hmm.
There's no dialogue. And it's yeah, it's I don't even know if there's like a god in it. It's like this weird dystopian future thing.
Well, maybe
But
he's the
these
god
warring
as the
factions.
creator of the world. Maybe
I
that's
guess
what it
so.
refers to.
That could be one way to interpret it. But I do recommend it just for just a fun, fucked up time.
Hmm. My movie. I'm not trying to step all over you, but we are. My battery is. I have an hour of battery life left, so I'm trying to
Okay.
expedite. My pick for this one is Tar, which is Kate Blanchett as Lydia Tar. She's a conductor. It does what The Whale should have done. And The Whale is a great performance by Brendan Fraser, but the editing undercuts a lot of it because it's cutting back and forth in these dramatic scenes, which adds a sense of tension when you should just let the scene play out without cutting back and forth. You have these in this, which you get these debates where it's just minutes long takes of her talking to people, and it's just the camera's just not cutting. It's just these very long takes, and it works very well. All the production design's great. She has a great performance, and all that doesn't even take into consideration the end of the movie where her life starts to unravel as allegations start coming forward about her. And her the way she uses her relationships to control what happens in her life, in her professional life. And as that starts to unravel, she starts to hallucinate, and that's all great too. But it's such a great movie. And I really enjoyed that one. Number
Yeah, I want
four,
to
we
see
have a,
that.
yeah, it is
I like
really
Kate
good.
Blanchett a lot.
It is. I almost saw that was another one I almost paid to see at a film festival, but I wasn't going to pay $30 and drive to Manhattan to go to the New York
Mm.
Film Festival to see it. Um, Number four, we have a tie between this is the last tie: Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever, and House of the Dragon, which is very weird. The last tie is two big franchise movies or two big franchise
Mm.
things. So you want to do House? I
Mm.
did not watch House of the Dragon in its entirety.
Also known
Um,
as Hot D.
yes, I didn't. I did notice that. Um, but yes, for me, my issue with House of the Dragon was the time jumps. It's very hard for me to form an attachment to the character when you keep jumping decades at a time. And I'm
I
like,
actually like that part. Well, a
that
lot of
bothered
the
me.
actors, only one actress, I guess, changed, but a lot of the other people stayed the same. My biggest issue with the time jumps is that the king's character
Mhm.
was seemingly aging 30 or 40 years every time jump, but then he's brothers with fuck, what's his name? The weird looking guy from Doctor Who.
Which one?
The one that with the giant head.
Matt
That was the
Smith?
doctor. Yeah.
Oh,
So he barely
the one who was on House of the Dragon.
yeah. So they're brothers. And Matt Smith doesn't really age at all, but then his
Hmm.
brother is like 90 years old and his face is like rotting as he's like aging. It's really cool.
Well,
Um,
you
but
pay for Matt Smith, you pay him for his face. He's a very
yeah.
handsome man.
Well, as other people have said, he's perfectly typecast as someone that's product of generations of inbreeding.
Yes, because he's that in Morbius too.
But I loved it because I recently got very into Game of Thrones again, or the Song of Ice and Fire again. I read all the
Hmm.
books in high school, and then the show kind of ruined it for me. But then I got back into it, and this show it does such a good job following the book
Hmm.
and gets going into way more detail than what's going on. So I really enjoyed it, and then it took its time. I thought it was interesting too. A lot of people thought it was boring, but I liked it in the beginning. But it does pick up, and
I think that's
I think most
part of the
people
problem
liked
is
it.
that people don't have the attention span for TV anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's one of the things I'm noticing where it's like, oh, it's boring. It's like, well, you have to like there's a difference between a show that takes multiple episodes to get good, like Agents of Shield, where you got to sit through 17 episodes for something interesting to happen, and then like Andor or like what was the other one? Sandman, where it's like
Sandman, yeah.
the first few episodes are kind of slow, but you got to get once you get through the like and get through is a loose way and a poor way of putting it, but like you got to sit with it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, like some of
Um,
the best parts about Game of Thrones is all the political intrigue and
and you
like
can't get that without building.
yeah, exactly. You need to like set up who these people are and like what their motivations are.
Yeah. But yeah, I will eventually watch House of the Dragon. I just haven't yet. Mine was Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I think that Phase 4 was not the best, but granted, neither was Phase 1 of Marvel Studios. A lot of people forget about that because they had that run of hits from like The Winter Soldier on, where
Mhm.
everything was just really good. But people forget that what was right before The Winter Soldier, The Dark World. Like that there were a lot of really not great movies that happened. And not that anything here is as bad as any of that, but I think that this is probably the weakest year for Marvel. since 2013. And I think that Black Panther Wakanda Forever really salvaged it. They were really dealt a very bad hand coming into this movie when Chadwick Boseman died. And I think they made the most of the situation and handled it in the best way they could. Um, the the story being it's kind of a retread of the first one in a way. Or really it's more closer. It like Shuri's story kind of mirrors T'Challa's story in Civil War. Because it is like she wants revenge on, who killed, T'Challa, but T'Challa died of cancer in the movie. And they, she's really stuck in that cycle of guilt and all of that. So we get to the end and she saves Namor's life, rather than killing him. It's kind of a mirror to the moment at the end of Civil War where what's his name? Zemo's gonna put the gun in his mouth and he puts his hand in the way.
Mhm.
It's kind of like that same moment at the end of the movie. Um, a lot of the costume work was not great. I will concede that point. The Midnight Angels look like shit. I really do not like the Ironheart armor. Speaking of Ironheart, she's not doesn't have a great role in the movie. She's kind of just an object in the movie that they need to keep alive, and I really don't like when they do that. Um, and I could have done without Julia Louis-Dreyfus, almost in her entirety, even if she does have the best line in the movie, where apparently her and Ross, Martin Freeman, were married at some point in the past. So the two of them are having a conversation, and he's trying to plead to her better instinct, and it's like, could you imagine the situation we would be in right now if the United States was sitting on the entire world supply of vibranium? And she's like, no, you don't understand. I literally dream about that. Like it's such a great it's entirely set up. All of her scenes are entirely set up for Thunderbolts. Um, but I'm very interested in the way that they handled this movie. I think that they handled it as best they could given the circumstances, and the end is also fantastic. The last scene is also great. With her
That's also what
finally,
those movies are for, like setting up future
yeah,
things, and
that's all it is.
like that's
And I think that this one handled it the best. Especially over Thor: Love and Thunder, which was just awful. And
God. I saw a thing. The more and more, what the fuck's his name?
Taika
Um,
Waititi.
I does or says, the more and more he annoys me.
Yeah, I think that the reason why we look at Ragnarok as positive as we do is that Thor wasn't good in Thor or the Dark World or in either Avengers movie. So it was just, oh, this is okay, they found something to do with him. But now that we've seen it happen a second time, after seeing the way Thor was portrayed in Infinity War and Endgame, it kind of doesn't feel right.
And I don't think he wrote the Ragnarok,
No, he did.
or he didn't write it by himself.
No, he didn't
I
write it
don't
by
think.
himself. No,
Yeah,
he was a co-writer on that.
but this one he did, I think, write by it and direct by
Yes.
himself, and
And
it's
and
very
I will give
clear.
Marvel this for Phase 4, and I think that it's kind of funny that people were bitching about this for years. Phase 4 very
I
much
like
if you
letting
see,
people do their own stuff.
yeah, every movie feels like a movie from the director that did it. Eternals is
Yeah,
very much a Chloe Zhao movie. Kate Shortland very much like everything is whoever made it. And people shit on Marvel for years for being like, oh, let the directors do what they want, let the directors do what they want. Meanwhile, you let the directors do what they want, and all you do is bitch about it. So,
yeah. It's like
you know,
Ryan Johnson with the Star Wars.
exactly. It's like, oh, do something new with Star Wars. Then you did something new with Star Wars. I was like, oh,
What the
fuck you.
fuck?
Not that different. Okay. Number three,
Yeah.
is my number one pick. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Which I had a feeling wasn't gonna make your list because you made your thoughts on it clear when we talked about it in the mid-year top five. I'm very surprised. Well, I'm not very surprised. I think I walked out of that movie anticipating it would be my number one.
Mhm.
And it is just I really liked it for the fact that it takes what we normally see in science fiction when you have the multiverse where it takes this nihilistic take where if everything can happen everywhere and none of it matters, then what's the point of anything? Which is kind of the conceit of Rick and Morty.
That's
Uh,
yeah. I was about to say that's all of Rick and Morty now.
like this is very much the opposite, where it takes that same thing and is like, well, if it can be anything anywhere and you can do anything, then do that here. Like the family stuff all works great. Some of the jokes are a little bit like weaker, especially like, all the things with the puppet raccoon. I was like, all right, that's not that great. Um but all of like a lot of it really like that fight sequence that happens where they're trying to shove they're fighting over the trophy that they show up their ass. So they
Hmm.
have to keep him from shoving the trophy up his ass to keep him from getting other powers. Like that's great. Ke Huy Quan is so good in this movie, and I think he's gonna win Best Supporting Actor purely because he's kind of retired for 40 years, and then he came out and did this. And it's like his delivery of like, when that scene when they're talking outside the movie theater in the reality where she's a movie star, and she's like, I've seen other places, and there's a world where we're together, but we're living in America and we got a shitty daughter and she doesn't really like us, and we're just working in a laundromat and we're doing laundry all day. And he's like, I would have given anything to live in that reality and just do laundry with you. It is such a great. I love that movie. Um, it's probably one of my favorites now. You didn't like it though.
I
Um,
wouldn't say I didn't like it, I guess, and I agree with you about the overall messaging of it. I did enjoy where, yeah, the that first point you made, but I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that just annoyed me more than that outweighed the things I did like about it.
does it change your mind any to know that the scene over the canyon when they're both rocks with just subtitles, they asked Lionsgate for budget to get IMAX cameras for that scene? And it's like, we're just gonna shoot these two rocks overlooking, there's no motion. We want to shoot it in IMAX though. And Lionsgate was like, what are you, fucking insane? Absolutely not.
It kind of annoys me that that's just a story they put out
Yeah.
instead of them just doing it.
Well, it cost too much money. They had to ask for the budget
Yeah.
for it. But yeah, it's but like and I think that it does go on a little long. There's a cut in the movie that could have been done where it's not 2:30. You probably could have gotten
Hmm.
away with 2:15, but I still really enjoyed it. Now this is where the tiebreaker came in. So number three for both of us on our list was Nope.
Mm.
Number one for you was The Northman, and it was my number
Hmm.
six.
Well,
So because of that, they both equated out to 16 points. But because The Northman was your number one, and we both had number three for Nope, The Northman's gonna be number one, Nope's gonna be number two. So Nope
yeah.
is number two. So you want to start on Nope?
Yes. I like Jordan Peele's horror movies. Part of why I like them so much is because he paces his movies in such an interesting way, where
Mm-hmm.
it, especially Us, where it doesn't feel like a lot of other movies, and it's kind of refreshing. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them they feel fast, which I like. They don't drag at all. And with Nope, I really liked, I thought it was genuinely, there's a lot of funny stuff in it. I liked the most of the characters. There's parts of it that genuinely creep me out, which is hard because I
Mm-hmm.
watch so many horror movies now that most
I
of
don't
them
think
don't
anyone would
scare
have
me at
gotten
all.
that from your list. It's a good thing you clarified that.
Yeah, and it was fucked up. I did, and there from watching, I saw the trailers, and from the trailers, there's literally only one thing I predicted accurately, because they showed the one woman that and her face is all fucked up, and I was like, that lady
Yes.
looks like she got attacked by a monkey. And that's the only thing I got right. Because
I
that's that, and then there's like really fucked up stuff with, yeah, with there's a very long drawn out thing with the monkey like savagely like attacking everyone.
See, that was my
Uh
only thing I didn't like about the movie is because I didn't feel like that dovetailed back to the main plot.
oh yeah,
In
you told me like why that was important and I missed it.
I
Because there's
forgot
a
the reason. Oh, yes, it was because
I
he
completely
thinks
misinterpreted it.
he he had that sequence happen, and it was because of that he thought he could control animals, and that's why he's
Yeah,
trying to control the alien. Is that he
yes.
saw that happen, and he's trying to control that later in life.
I
Uh,
interpret because during that scene he stares at a shoe and it looks like it's levitating.
yeah,
I interpreted that as the aliens came and
that's
made
how
the
I
monkey
interpreted
go
it too.
crazy.
Until you like when I was seeing it, I'm like, but wait, because there were other things in the movie too that were doing that same thing, and I'm like, that's weird, and that never really came back to the plot in a weird in a meaningful way.
Yeah,
But you could have gotten that without that long of a sequence.
but
For me,
I also like they didn't explain it because I would
mhm,
have been more annoyed if there was a part where
it's just
Steven
saying
Yeun's
I,
character is like, yeah, it's like screaming about like
yeah,
I controlled the monkey and all that stuff.
like I saw the
I
monkey
like that
maul these people. I could do this.
Yeah. They was
Uh,
it was like cool and like fucked up where like they were sacrificing the horses and
yeah,
uh yeah, and there was like the a lot of people I guess got mad that it was I guess we can spoil it
yeah.
because we both watched it. I saw a lot of people angry like they were angry that it wasn't aliens and it was like this creature.
I
I
think it
thought
was
that was
still an
like
alien
more
creature.
yeah, you could it was still like an alien, but I guess because it wasn't a flying an actual flying saucer.
Mm.
But I thought that was kind of cooler where it was like people getting digested and
Yeah,
like you see
that was really fucked up. Like for again, we're short on time with the battery life, but for me, my only like everything you said, plus also the way they shot the night scenes. When I heard how they did that, I was like, that's really fucking incredible. They took 3D cameras and set one to one of they put them to the same focal distance. They set one of them to infrared and one of them to regular, and that's why the night exteriors look so good in this movie.
yeah, I couldn't tell at all. I thought they were just filming at night.
Yeah, that's how they did that to make it look so much better than any other night sequence in any other movie. And then also like everything about this just being a giant homage to 50s monster movies.
Hmm.
Really just so well done. I feel like I had another point on it, but I can't remember off the top of my head. And number one, also with very good night exterior shots and interesting lighting choices, The Northman.
Hmm.
Um,
So what's the director's name again? I forgot his name.
Robert Eggers.
Yes, I love all of his movies. He made The Witch, The Lighthouse,
Hmm.
now this. Part of why I love all his movies is the historical accuracy and like the painstaking measures he takes to make sure everything is so accurate. And I like now you get this like Viking historical epic that
Yeah.
is like tries to be as close to as possible with what's going on.
Is it
Um,
just Hamlet?
I think
Yes,
it,
but it's great.
yeah, basically. But so is Dune
Yes. Like,
at the
yeah,
end of
I,
the day.
I I saw
Uh,
like the way they use natural light in this movie is so unique. Like, just from that aspect, the way that everyone is shot when they're talking, the cinematography around that is great. And I love the performances all around.
Yeah,
Um,
Nicole Kidman, her character twist was awesome too,
yeah,
where you find out that she actually is like betrayed by Ethan Hawke and all that.
the gore is great too in this movie.
Yeah, the gore is awesome. I like that it's not just action though; it like focuses on a story and
Yeah,
like you see this character grow and has to pick between like his motivations of revenge and trying to be a normal person.
yeah. This is
And
one of those movies that
he
almost
chooses
didn't make the
revenge.
list for me, because of the cinematic experience.
Oh, did you? I saw it in theaters, but there's only like two other people in the theater with me.
I think I told you this story when it happened because it was such a bizarre behavior. But like I went to a 6 o'clock showing in a normal screening. There was also a 7 o'clock showing, but I had just gotten off work, so I didn't want to sit. Long story short, people walk in at 7 o'clock, sit in the same row as me. I'm in the top row. I always sit in the top row, so I'm out of the way. So they sit next to me. These two people have walked into the movie an hour late and continually get up and down throughout the entire movie and keep leaving and coming back with more snacks. The movie ends and they turn to me and say, "That was a weird movie. What was it about? I don't understand what happened." And I'm like, "I don't know you. Why are you asking me?" Like,
And also of his movies is the most straightforward
yeah,
plot. It's very clear what's going
because
on.
that's what I said to him. I'm like, it's just the plot of Hamlet. It's just with Vikings. It's a pretty simple to do movie. Um, but yeah, it was great. Like, I didn't take off points for the cinematic experience on that because it's more funny than it is annoying. 'Cause it's bizarre behavior. Um, but yes, so our top 11. Let's just go through it one more time. Number 11, Turning Red and Fall. Number 10, Glass Onion, Knives Out Story, and Barbarians. Number 9, 3,000 Years of Longing and Hellraiser. Number 8, The Batman and Cabinet of Curiosities. Number 7, After Sun and the Bob's Burgers movie. Number 6, Crimes of the Future. Number 5, Mad God and Tar. Number 4, Black Panther Wakanda Forever and House of the Dragon. Number 3, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Number 2, Nope. Number 1, The Northman. And that wraps up our top 10. So now we're going to do something kind of different to wrap up for the year. Looking ahead to 2023, we're going to do a draft of movies. Now, here are the rules for this. We're going to check in throughout the year as we go. Each of us are going to pick 5 movies. We're going to alternate Um, each points category has a maximum of 100 points. There are two categories, one for the Metacritic score and one for the box office. The Metacritic score is going to be whatever the Metacritic score is 1 week after the movie comes out. This will give enough time for critics who are not in press screenings to see the movie to get in there. And for disclosure, I am not a Metacritic certified critic, so I will not be swaying it in that way. The points for box office are
You
determined.
start giving zeros to like bottom out the scores.
Dune 2, 0.
Yeah.
The points for the box office are determined by taking the total dollar amount at the worldwide box office and assigning 1 point for every $10 million earned over its entire theatrical run. For example, a movie that makes 400 million at the box office will earn 40 points, while a movie that earns 1 billion will earn a full 100 points. Each of us get 5 picks with one alternate. The alternate is selected in the event that we pick a movie that gets bumped out of 2023 via cancellation or delay. So should you pick like Aquaman or a movie late in the year that may get delayed, we have that alternate spot to swap in. So I'll let you go first and put Dune Part 2 as your number one movie.
Yes.
So yeah, let me
number
write
one
that
pick.
down. Okay, so Dune 2. Yes, I didn't put that on my list, but I knew you were gonna pick that one. And I figured that I think that it's a bold choice for your first pick. I think the
I
box
needed to
office.
have, so I mine is definitely affected by my emotions.
That's what I feel like too. I had a thought process behind this. Um,
I did for my other picks, I did spend time and think about it. That first one though, I just needed it. I needed to
yeah.
claim possession of
Um,
Dune.
my number one is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I think James Gunn's last Guardians of the Galaxy movie, I think it's gonna pull a solid 800 million. Um,
That was my alternate pick.
I think, and then on top of it too, I think
I had to
that
pick a new
there's
one.
no way the movie does under 80 on Metacritic.
Yeah.
So I think that's a solid pick for me. I think. What's your number two?
Fast 10.
That was my number three pick.
Because that's going to be the final, supposed to be the final one.
It's part one of the final.
Oh shit! I didn't know that.
No, but it is still going to make a lot of money. I think because I think Fast
Oh yeah.
Nine immediately in the first outcome of the pandemic, Fast Nine made a lot of money at the box office. But I think Fast 10 will as well. My number two is Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part One. Because those are all great, and I think that Tom Cruise is going to drag another billion out of the box office on that one.
Yep, that was why that was my next pick too.
All right, so what's your next one moving down the line?
Oppenheimer.
Fuck. Okay, Oppenheimer. Did you see the Metacritic for Dunkirk and go, yep, there we go?
No, but I just assumed it's like I actually don't. I had pretty. I actually kind of have low expectations for that movie.
I don't think it's gonna be great.
I really don't know how much drama or story. Like it obviously is interesting. This is one of those things where I think I'd rather just watch a documentary about Oppenheimer than see a dramatization of.
My three is now my five. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
I did not put that one actually.
I think that because of James Mangold, I think that that's gonna help a lot. I don't think it's gonna be bad. I think it's gonna be at worst okay. I can see it pulling 500, 600 million. All right, so what's your four?
And then is this my four? Hold on, I have to like double.
Josie just texted me and said, "Omit the
so
Y, please."
my number
Just say
four.
I died.
Leave that in though.
Okay. Yeah, you're up to you have Dune 2, you have Fast 10, you have Oppenheimer. You're up to your fourth.
Okay. All right, this is hard. I'm between two different ones. I had to do Kraven the Hunter. That's my number four.
I did not pick that. I'm gonna say something that may make you question your pick. So he's making a movie about Kraven the Hunter. You're familiar with Kraven the Hunter, what his costume looks like, right? He's got like that leopard pelt from the leopard he killed. You know. So it's gonna be a comics accurate movie. Aaron Taylor Johnson said that. He's a conservationist who loves animals.
Uh, I switch it out.
Go ahead. I'll let
Okay,
I'll let you switch that one now.
that was one of my extras that I was like, oh, this is like a new Marvel character. It will be popular.
Morbius, I think,
Um,
was the thing that really also is gonna hurt it.
is it? Wait, is it a Sony?
It's a Sony.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah,
I take that
it's
one
not
out.
it's one of those Marvel can't stop us movies,
Okay,
not a Marvel Studios.
I didn't do enough research then. So my number four is the Hunger Games prequel. Then
That was my next one. Hunger Games. Yeah, I think that's gonna do a solid amount of money too. Um, which means my next one is now the Super Mario movie.
that was my next one.
Yeah, I think that one's gonna pull a good amount of money. And I think because I think that even the most recent Minions movie did close to a billion, if not a billion. Um, so you have one more pick and then your alternate.
Okay, so my last pick. This is hard. Right now, I'm actually scrolling through
Oh, okay.
upcoming movies. No, I have my alternate already. My last pick, I think, will be the Marvels.
Huh. Okay. I think that that's a solid one. I didn't have it on my list, but I think that's a solid one.
That one's about like Miss Marvel, right?
That's Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and Spectrum all teaming up
Okay, I
in
think
one
that
big
will be
movie.
successful.
I think because Captain Marvel did 2 billion. I think that
Mhm.
this one will do slightly less. I think it'll do under a billion, but I think it's gonna do numbers. I also think it's going to lead into the next Avengers movie. But I
Mm.
did not have that on my list. My next one, this may be a genius move or a really dumb move. Blue Beetle.
I don't even know what that is.
It is a DC character. It's live action, and it's about a guy who bonds with a scarab and develops an Iron Man suit from it. An alien scarab gives him an Iron Man suit. And the only reason I think this one's going to make money where the other DC films may not is because it is the only one that has no existing ties to the existing DC universe.
Hmm.
So it could carry over into the new whatever they're doing under Gunn, where I think the Flash is
Yeah.
done. I think that Aquaman is done. This one can carry over. So what's your alternate?
Evil Dead Rise.
Okay. Evil Dead. Did you see the trailer?
No, I decided I don't. That's one I'm definitely going to see in theaters, and I
I
don't
saw
want to
the trailer the
watch.
other day
I don't want to watch the trailer.
before
I know it's a
Megan.
COVID movie though.
You can see it's a COVID movie. You see it's a
Yeah,
COVID movie that was made for HBO Max.
and the director slash writer has zero credits basically.
Yes.
So who knows? The Evil Dead reboot and the Evil Dead TV show are both amazing. So I'm hoping
Yes.
that trajectory continues. Because if Sam Raimi is the executive producer of
He's
it,
executive. He's not going to let it just
I'm
anything happen
hoping
to it.
he like had some input or
Yeah.
instead of just be like a cool cash grab. Yeah, my
And
what is yours? Your finals?
my alt is going to be, and I almost picked The Flash, but Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
That was my other. I wasn't sure if I wanted to put that one or not.
I think the first Spider-Verse is one of my favorite animated movies ever made. I think that this one's going to do more money than the first one did. And I think that it is. I think the only reason I went with the Flash is I think the Flash, if Michael Keaton is in it, can still pull 600, 700 million. I just don't know if it's gonna if Ezra Miller can hold out and not be a douche for another 7 months and not have that override it.
Or not have an underage sex cult.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if we can get that long without something happening. Um, so to go back through the list because we are short on time because my battery's dying. Your first pick was Dune Part 2. My first was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Your second pick was Fast 10. Your my second pick was Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Your third pick was Oppenheimer. My third pick was Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Your fourth pick was Hunger Games Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. My fourth was the Super Mario movie. Your fifth pick was The Marvels. My fifth pick was Blue Beetle. Your alternate was Evil Dead Rise. My alternate was Spider-Verse. I will make this look nice and I will put it up on the website. If you go to multipleworldproductions.com/news, it'll be up there, nice and neat in a nice little spreadsheet, so we can keep track of it throughout the year. Yeah, any predictions for 2023 besides what we've talked about?
I just found out they're making a Meg too.
Yes.
and it's about the Marianas Trench.
I don't think that needs to happen. My only prediction, I think that come San Diego Comic-Con, they're going to announce Spider-Man 4, and it's going to hold the January 2024 release, July 2024 release date. That's my only prediction. Yeah. So we'll wrap up there for today. And we'll be back with tomorrow we will have Willow catching up because I hate myself. And I've already
The
started
TV
Willow.
show?
What? Yeah, the TV show. I can't back. I've already 6 episodes in. I can't back out now.
It looks
Um,
horrible.
it's awful. It is god awful. But we'll continue with the Willow discussion.
The original
Episode
Willow sucked too.
Yeah, I don't
not
know
even-
why
it's
I
not
thought
even
that. I
good.
don't know why I thought this was gonna be good. It's not good for ratings either. Like, but I've already gotten this far into it. I might as well just see it out. National Treasure is better. But we will wrap up there for today. So until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.